All right, that intro got kind of awkward. I don't know if the intro got played or not. I had to click it a couple of times. So hopefully it went through. You know, Andrew, you know how it is with live
Yeah.
shows.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Listen, my hat's off to all of you that do live shows, because I don't do a live show because I would have anxiety about doing a live show. So kudos to you guys. Everything that you guys deal with, from technical to, again, there's no pause and rewind, like everything's out there. So hats off to you guys. It's awesome.
So, but I do have to give you some props. I was listening recently to the Alex Rod podcast, and Wendell Fishing was on it, and I didn't know about this. So I guess now there are AI programs or apps, whatever, to help podcasts. So like, you know, clean out the show a little bit with background noise, speaking voice improvement, does reels and all that. So I got into it and I messaged you. It's like, Andrew Hayes has the cleanest podcast. And I'm not talking about language. Just, I mean, this is, you know, the sounding, the editing, the information. The only thing cleaner than his podcast is his haircut. That's the only thing that's cleaner than his podcast, for real. By the way, if you have a barber, he should be sponsoring you, man. Like, that is
incredible.
Slick.
I appreciate it. My hair grows out on the sides like a chia pet, so I just have to shave the sides all the time. So that's just what, and then you just throw a bunch of gunk in it and slick it back, and that's all it is.
And every reel that I've seen you on, it's like on point. Like, you know what? I go to a barber. I'm old. I'm almost 50. So I was like, just get it as short as I can so I don't have to come here every 2 weeks. But I mean, how often do you go to your at a barber or hairstylist?
Just a barber. I just go downtown Dayton here. It's probably every 3 or 4 weeks I go, something like that. Pretty close to once a month.
Yeah. So anyways, talking about your podcast, Tackle Talk Podcast, one of my favorite podcasts. Again, I truly enjoy it. It's entertaining and it is very informative. So, and since we're going to be talking about tackles, I figured who better to bring than Andrew Hayes from the Tackle Talk podcast. And by the way, we got some viewers already. Ellie Self, 3 great dudes excited for this one. I'm assuming talking about Zach, Josh, and Andrew, which they are, by the way. Also, Endes 13, best hair and smiling fishing. Can't argue with that. Good evening, gentlemen. Albert, my good buddy Albert from Central Texas. And Josh Chitwood, one of the most handsome guys. He's also on the podcast. So we're going to be talking a lot about tackle. But before we do and bring in our next special guests, Zach and Chitwood from Dark Horse Tackle, I want you to plug in your social media and your podcast for those that haven't had the pleasure of listening to your podcast.
Well, I appreciate it. That's very nice of you. It's just it's a show that I started randomly in my spare bedroom, and it just kind of like took on a life of its own. So it's cool to keep going. We've done it for about 4 years now, but it's just on wherever you get podcasts. So Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, all those places. And then on Instagram, you can find it's at Tackle Talk Podcast is the show page, or then my personal one for fishing is just Hayes, Haze fishing. So find me all those places. Shoot me a message. I love talking fishing. So if anybody's got questions or anything, I'll sit there and talk to a brick wall all day about fishing. So I love this stuff.
It is. And I'm not just saying this for those that are watching or listening. I'm not just saying this because Andrew's here. I'm a huge fan of what he does. It's just the quality of his podcast is something that I have a healthy amount of enviness. And I definitely listen to him and try to pick up stuff of what he does that I want to incorporate. And one of the things is, like I said, I'm surprised you don't use any AI programs like most podcasters do. I don't either, but you can tell by the quality that I don't.
Dude, when you messaged me that, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like I had no idea what you're talking about. I was like, what are you talking about? Like someone that talks the show for me or what? You're like, no, it's like things that clean it up or make it sound, better or whatever. It's like I'm the reels out of touch of everything. The reels, I do it all like manually on like export it on iMovie and crop it and then try and put it into another thing to put the subtitles on, like an embarrassing amount of work for like a 60-second video. So I'm sure there are better ways to do it. I'm just, not hip with the times, I guess.
No, but it's funny because you are a lot younger than I am. So I figured if anybody would be hit with the times would be you. But
nope.
I'm trying to get the guys in, but my mouse cursor is not working. Here we go. Other message from Wolf of Wolf of Walmart. Bunch of gentlemen just getting in tonight.
Dave, Eli.
The intro for Tackle Talk podcast is legit. I have to ask you. I'll ask you off here. I'm really interested in those intros that you have, and what does it take to get that? I don't know if you contract, but let's bring our next guest and we'll talk about it later. But yes, the intro is amazing intro, and I love it. So let's get in Zach and Josh Chitwood from the Dark Horse Tackle. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. Thank you again for coming on the podcast. Both of you
had to change my headgear up.
Oh, look at that.
Oh yeah.
Sheesh.
That's
No
the other
bandana.
thing I forgot to
Crispy.
mention. That merch from Tackle Talk podcast is also nice.
It really
Also
is,
something
dude.
that I made way too difficult on myself, where I like had the patches made somewhere, bought the hats somewhere else, found somebody locally to sew them on. I was like, just order them all through one person. But again, I'm a sucker for making things way too hard on myself.
Dude,
You done good. You done good.
yeah.
No,
Well,
it
thank
is,
you.
and it really shows the love that you have for it. If I had any way to describe, the way you go about it, it really seems kind of funny and ironic. It's like you have this old soul approach to it.
That's just how I was raised. Yeah, it's like you just grind for everything. Like you don't take the easy way out of everything. You just do the way that will end up with hopefully the best results. So if it takes 5 times as long, that's fine because I just want to be proud of it at the end. And I mean, you got 2 guys on this episode that are embodiments of that, right? That are sitting there and
Grinders.
spending 12 hours packaging boxes and doing everything by hand. And like, I don't know, there's probably not 2 better guys to sound off on like not taking the easy way out and making a product they're proud of than these guys.
And by
We
the way,
actually like to make things harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you didn't hate it, if you didn't hate doing it, then why would
there
you
would
do
be
it?
no satisfaction looking at the
Right.
pile of 300 boxes if they just happened in the snap of a finger. You got to spend like 5 days making them.
It's the
No
journey.
AI. No
Yeah,
AI
exactly.
for that.
There's no AI for box making.
it's like, oh, fishing is so easy. Catching a 10-pound bass is so easy. I need to make something more difficult. By the way,
Yeah.
Wolf of Walmart again. No bandana. I agree. Zach, before we started recording, looked so badass with that bandana. And,
Yeah.
Again, I love the hat. It's Tackle Talk podcast cap. So no shame in that, of course. But yeah.
Talk about something that I'm jealous that I can't pull off, a bandana. I would look like an absolute idiot if I tried to put a
Dude.
bandana on, and Zach looks cool with a bandana on.
The
It's
question
maybe
is,
like, yeah.
the question is, Zach, can you pull off that slick haircut? That's
No.
So
Although I don't know. I've seen a lot of guys with big beards that have that haircut.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm missing the any beard part. I can't grow anything there. This is like been working on since senior year of high school, and we got
Oh,
stubble.
yeah.
That's what we're working with. Yeah.
wait a minute, you're out of
Awful.
high school already?
now, graduated.
You can't tell by my high school picture background here that
Yeah. You know that episode of SpongeBob where they're trying to get into the salty spittoon and
Yeah.
like proving how tough they are. That's Andrew and I if we put on bandanas.
yeah, and then we get sent to Weenie Hut Juniors.
Like, yeah, they're like, "Yeah, get out of here, dude.
No
What is this
podcast is
guy doing?
complete
Yeah.
until
This
we go
kid's
through the
14 years old. You should see me trying to buy like beer at the gas station.
Dude.
I'll say this. This is the first time we go on a podcast down the SpongeBob rabbit hole.
Everything. There you go.
That is new. That is really new. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about Dark Horse Tackle before we dive into talking about tackles. You guys, I'm really what is proud the word I'm looking for, but I'm really impressed. I guess I'm really impressed with what you guys have done with
Thanks.
Dark Horse
Thank you.
Tackle. And I hear not just from the guys that are business partners, I guess you would say, kind of like the guys from the Catch podcast, Brad Hicks. When I talk to them outside of the social media space, just one-on-one, they rave about your products and your vision. And we were talking about this before we started recording. What got you into, continuing with this product that it seemed like a dying trend, which is the monthly tackle box? We saw MTB grow to stardom with the Guggen Squad, kind of one hand wash the other. Lucky Tackle kind of tried to jump in, crash and burn pretty
They
quickly.
tried.
Monster Bass, tried is it's being generous.
I don't even know if they lasted a year,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, no, it was bad. And then Monster Bass, I mean, I remember the owner really pushing hard to try to get this product out.
Yeah.
Props to him. He was always on social media, and he did reach out to some content creators that will help him. But again, I don't know if there's even Monster Bass is still a thing. But so you guys decided to continue this, knowing what the market was. What inspired you to guys say, we're gonna push on through with this and kind of be, from what it seems like, the last man standing with this?
Do you want me to start on this one, Zach?
Go ahead, man.
So I grew up. My dad's been a manager of a boat dealership that's also a tackle shop since I was alive, and I've been in and out of tackle shops my whole life. So my entire life was based around fishing. My grandpa was a tournament angler. My uncle was a tournament angler. My dad was a tournament angler. I'd be at weigh-ins every summer on the weekends. Like, I was groomed to be a fisherman. My grandpa made jigs. I knew guys who owned bait companies. And when the offer was made to me by the old owner of Dark Horse Tackle, actually, I made the offer. He told me he was going to just shut up shop. And I was like, no, this is too good of an idea. And here's why it's too good of an idea. The angle of small business, your small American business, we are taking people's American dreams and we are pumping money into their company. That is our goal. Our goal is to, push your dream while we push ours. I firmly believe this is Zach's dream just as much as it is mine. We've dumped a lot of money into this, more than any, we've dumped more time into anything. The time that we spend on this and the time Zach spends on this, I mean, like, Zach, for one, like, this guy's like an Olympian, dude. Like, he gets in the zone and it's just like 15 texts in a row. Like, what do you think about company A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, just down the row? And
I'll go before 7 a.m. Huh?
Yeah, all before 7 a.m. I wake up and I'm like, holy crap.
Crazy.
But, this is all about what we like to call the virtuous cycle. And the virtuous cycle is why we're all here right now. So you are promoting us. We are promoting you. We are a tackle company that sells a monthly subscription box. We also have a build your own box feature. And all that involves is us communicating with guys all over the United States. Hey, we want to buy your baits in a very large quantity. What can we do? I want you to get paid. I'm not gonna rip you off. Let's see what we can do. I want you to make money. We're gonna promote you. We're gonna make a YouTube video about it. We're gonna talk about how we're gonna rig it, whatever. And then we want you to promote us. One way or another, we'll end up getting promoted by them. And we don't really even ask, do we, Zach? Like, we're not like, hey, there was an old structure a couple years ago with a previous owner where he would go, the better deal you give us, the more we'll promote your company. But I was always the one promoting the companies, and I would just do it anyway because I want these guys to succeed, man. This is stuff I believe in. Like, it's the way I promote these companies is the same way everybody gets dressed every single day. I'm still going to wear jeans. I'm still going to wear a t-shirt. And guess what? I'm still going to promote your business. That is a day-to-day feature. That is a day-to-day process. That's kind of all I think about. I just want these guys, I want these guys to see that we are not like those other box companies. It's
actually kind of a bad business model because
right.
What we want is what we want is for these guys to make it, and when they make it, then they're going to be too big for us.
Yep.
But there's always more behind them, and we're always looking for them. And that's what we're going to do, which is kind of cool because our customers are getting, hi, Mom. Our customers are getting the coolest baits before they ever get big.
Yep. And dude, the best part is like, so for September, we're promoting a new bait for JawTech. And that's so cool. JawTech, not Kitech. Okay. Can't do Kitech, man. They're up there. There. I don't even think they're in America, which is fine. But
don't think so.
It's fun to these guys. They'll text us. They'll be like, "Hey, I've got the super duper slammer spinnerbait coming out in 3 months, but production will be done in 2 months. I can get a few hundred of them made and sent to you guys. And we're like, yes, because what that does is, for one, it takes one bait out of the equation. We don't have to worry about what we're going to put into the box for December, because some guy just texted us and was like, hey, I got this thing coming out in December. I want you guys to showcase it, make a video about it, talk about it. Yep, we'll do it. It isn't the best business model, but it's our business model, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we want to do. And if we get stabbed in the back, whatever, we'll pull the blade out and put it in our pocket. That's just a new knife.
That's a good mentality. So for both of you, is this your 9-to-5 job, or is this more like a side thing?
No, it's not a side thing, but we have jobs.
Yeah,
This is that I couldn't have said it any better. So I myself personally, I'm a union millwright. And right now, currently, I'm working 7-12, so 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I do dark horse tackle with the rest of the time. And go ahead, Josh.
I work at a grocery store, and I'm starting to realize that, like, I don't have as much time for dark horse tackle when I want to at the grocery store, because a lot of times when I'm at the grocery store, I'm like thinking about everything but doing my job. I'm like, spinnerbaits, crankbaits, and then I'll call Zach and I'll be like, hey, we should do this color, this color, this color. And then I'll be in the back room for 20 minutes. I'm like, so anyways, you're not gonna believe this. I'm thinking about this weekend. We're gonna throw these Jawtech Sultans, and I really want to catch some fish on that Silly Sally. And then it'll be a 20-minute conversation of whatever. And that's our day to day, man. Like, that's like I would say every couple hours there is a conversation had where it rabbit holes into another conversation about fishing. Like, we are fishing obsessed dudes.
Do you feel at some point, both you and Zach, I'll let each one of you answer this question. Do you feel at some point is it a reality for you to say maybe this could be our 9-to-5 and quit our day jobs? Or do you see this as like, we want this where it is, we enjoy it, and we're okay if it stays that way?
It's a little bit of both. If it stays where it is, that's cool. It's a fun thing to do. I get to be a part of a lot of awesome stuff. We actually just landed a sponsorship with, I might butcher the name, 2024 Kayak Adventure Series.
Oh, with Drew
Gregory's thing?
Yeah, that is awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we're going to be a part of that, and that's going to lead to a bunch of cool functions. We did our first expo last year. That was a blast, man. Like, got to hang out with a lot of cool people. We got like a sick Airbnb for this year, man. And a whole bunch of our pro staff are coming down. Andrew, you're invited.
I'll be there.
But no, if it stays where it is and it's a couple extra bucks in my pocket, dude, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. Am I always trying to make it bigger and grow though? Hell yeah, I am.
Yep.
Like, of course. One of the reasons why I want to keep going with dark horse tackle is because eventually my body is going to fail, and I'm not going to be able to be, torquing 650 pounds on a torque wrench every day, putting machines into place.
You're so
and doing
strong.
What I gotta do.
Wow.
I flex fat, brother. That's how that works. But eventually my body's going to give out, and I'm working on a couple different things, and they all are going to kind of join in with dark horse tackle of things that I can do whenever that happens to me and my body gives out. And so I'm got dark horse tackle here. I got a little blank factory coming up that I'm trying to get into, and a few other things I'm trying to do. And that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to sail it into old age. If that boat doesn't sink, I'll be sailing on it the whole way.
Yep. Go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but like, you guys will probably know this. I've seen this with what I do too, where it's like when it is and side hustle is a term that I know we don't want to use because we're putting in a lot more work. But it's when it's not your primary source of income, it goes two ways. You can either take risks that you probably wouldn't if it was your primary source of income because you'd be so afraid of it failing, or you can pass up risks or opportunities because, again, you don't need it to be this $100 million company tomorrow, where you get to make different decisions when it's not my life and death depends on this company.
Yeah.
And you can slow play things. You can, again, jump out and take a risk, because even if it doesn't work out, who cares? It's not like this is how your electricity bill is being paid. So I think there's something to be said for not rushing the, again, side hustle part of the business, because you get to be in a different mindset than you do when it is your livelihood. It's everything.
Well, growing too fast is probably one of the things that I'm most fearful of. If 500 people decided that they wanted to subscribe tomorrow,
well, dude,
that caused problems.
Okay, no, I have a story. So when we did the first Andrew Hayes Tackle Talk Takeover box, we set it to a pre-order, and we kept it unlimited, but we still made a guess of the baits we needed. Like, we were still like, just set us like 150. And like 225 people bought these things, dude. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, dude, we're going to die. Like, we're done. Because it gets to it. You got to think, man. So,
sorry.
You're good. So the way this works is like, we work on a month-to-month basis, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, we're running like net 30, net 60, net 90, sometimes net whatever. Please be net whatever. But
whatever.
Please. But like a lot of these, dude, we were running like month to month at this time. And these guys are like, hey, I need my money. And I'm like, oh, actually, I need more baits. Like, I'm sorry, dude. And I don't have the money, but it will come through. It will come through because we sold all these boxes. And then we did like we did like the actual quarterly like Hayes takeover boxes, and we finally got that like figured out, where it was like, okay, we just need to limit these things. Like, it's limited to 100, 150, whatever. But like, dude, overnight success scares me. It does.
Yeah.
It's nice that it's gradual. It's nice to plant seeds that aren't magic beans, and you can water them and watch them, germinate and expand some leaves. That's nice to see. I don't need a stock 100 feet tall.
Overnight success is not sustainable. Like,
exactly. Someone's about to
get into this thing where it's like the person that has a viral YouTube video from something, and they get 10,000 subscribers immediately, and then their next video gets 2 views, because those aren't real subscribers. They were drawn in by like a lightning in a bottle type deal, where it's like, where if you grow something slowly, you have either the audience or the customer base or whatever that's going to stay there. It's not going to, you're not going to fire up, your website one month and there's like 2 subscribers now because you were like a one-hit wonder. It's like, no, you built this and you have a sustainable customer base. I think a lot of people don't realize that until it's too late.
Yeah, that's something we've been trying to do, and it seems to be working. Just tweaks, a tweak here, a tweak there, a tweak here.
Exactly right.
We've got a new website, which looks like a big boy website. It doesn't look like something that somebody drew with big fat crayons. And we're doing stuff like that, and that's what we are seeing. We're seeing just little increses,
dude. I gotta talk about the website.
They're solid.
I gotta talk about this real quick.
Okay, well, before you do, he's not gonna go away, so I might as well do this. We've just been hacked, and we're trying to run a serious podcast, but whatever. Let's just get this over with.
Who is Doc?
Oh, God.
What's up, Paul? Hey-o.
I just want to let everybody know, when you eat black bean sandwiches, this is what you turn into. Speaking of magic beans. Woo! That thing's too hot.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Oh, it's even worse.
Oh my God! What is that? Oh, it's Paul.
How you doing, Paul?
So good.
I'm doing great. Look, Armando messed up by putting me in the group chat with the link to the episode tonight. He messed up. So I at least, look, Alex is mad right now because I done left our podcast recording to come over here with y'all for a few minutes.
Oh my God.
So good.
Look,
I was so confused. There's like a little tab over here that I didn't even know existed that said private chat, and I just happened to click on it, and it said, "Who is Doc M?" And then Doc McStuffins replies and said, "Surprise." And I was like, "What? I don't know what's going on."
What?
Hey, Paul.
Why
Paul, we
did
gotta-
Alex left you unattended? This is what happens, Alex.
That's his fault. Look, that's his fault. That's why I'm on your podcast right now.
We're trying to get Zach to where he was last time.
Oh
No.
man.
My mom is watching, so
I hope y'all having a good time. I'm gonna roll up out of here. I just want to drop in since Armando put me into the group chat with the link. I had to use it. Thank you for letting me on. I know y'all are having a good time. I don't want to listen anymore because I want to listen to the podcast when I'm riding down the road. Y'all have a good night. Thanks, Armando, for bringing me on. You my boy, Hoss.
see you, Paul.
Later.
Oh man, that was
Love that guy.
Yeah, he is. Paul is,
I do remember my
treasure.
original thought.
Okay, go ahead.
So, in the grand scheme of the website, in the way the website works, so before my old partner decided to walk away, take his ball and go home, as Zach calls it, he did something. He started getting a little petty. So he made these changes to the website. This dude did this unannounced, unprompted, not even asked to do so. Did this weird comic book font, bunch of stuff. And I remember when it happened, I looked at the website and all of the old templates that we had for the website, he deleted. And he was like, this is the new website. And I'm like, oh my God. Like,
I am the captain now.
No. Yeah. I was like, dude, I love it so
Not
much.
really.
See, you shouldn't have done that. you shouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done it.
I
I'd
would
have been
say
like,
this.
no.
I used to follow the previous owner on social media back when I started Instagram. I would just follow everybody just more information.
Well, you know, he had 18,000 followers. Did you know that? Yeah.
He never struck me as a fisherman. Like, I was like, he's not. At one point, I was like, yeah, he's not a fisherman. He's just an influencer. Like, this is. It just wasn't. It was just like, to me, looking at it back now, it was like, oh, John B wannabe. Like, John B and the Google Squad kind of like
some heat on that.
No, but true. And I don't want to be insulting, but it was like, we saw it with all this content, social media influencers that saw what the Google Squad did and wanted to be part of that without putting the hard work. Like, I don't think people, John B, like, I get it. There's a generation gap between me and John B. And I get maybe the millennial attitude doesn't resonate with me, but I respect what the hard work that guy did to get where he's are. Like, we were talking about the pre-recording. He moved to a ranch now here in Texas, but for a couple of years, he used to be my neighbor. And I would watch him go to Sudan, Amazon, record a video, and then hit the local creek behind my house and post another video. Like, he never got too big to look past what got him there. So, and you saw this trend of all these people wanting to do that. And no disrespect to the old boss of Dark Horse Soccer, but it strike me as, so it strike me as one of those persons that are like, you're not in it.
Yeah, there are people that look at fishing, that love fishing, and they get into it because they love fishing, and there are people that see fishing as a vessel and a vessel to get somewhere. And now it's cool because it's been around long enough that you've saw the people that used it as a vessel fall off or fall out, or they're not here anymore at all. And the people that really truly got into it because they were ate up with fishing and love fishing are the people that are still on YouTube. So like John's still on YouTube, Rudd, Christine Fisher, like there's so many people that now Matt Streichel, SB Fishing, like there are some people, Mikey Balls are still around,
Mikey
and there's
Balls
still
John Dalton,
the OGs that are out there that got into it not because they saw it as a way to get popular or a way to make some money or something.
This is what I do.
They love fishing, and they saw, I can just record what I normally do anyway, and I'm not putting on a face while I'm putting the camera on. And those are the people you still see around.
I agree. I think now it's at the place where I think for us that really love fishing, that consider ourselves more of a fisherman than a content creator, are kind of enjoying this more. It's like,
And you
okay,
can
now,
tell the people.
Yeah.
We've got smart enough where you can watch somebody's video for the first time and you can tell whether they're legit or whether they're in it for the wrong reasons. Like,
you can smell it like a
everybody's
fart in
gotten
a car.
so everybody's gotten so hip to it, and they can see it from a mile away. And if you're disingenuous, if you're not there for the right reasons, like people sniff that out pretty good.
It will come out definitely. Now let's go ahead, chat.
So I started a fishing Instagram, and he piggybacked off that. I was like, I'm thinking about starting a fishing Instagram. I'm like, I'm good at this. I like talking about what I like to use. I love promoting, dude, at this point, I was never Guggen. I'll tell you that for free.
Do you have Vic Coomer lures?
I did not have Vic Coomer lures.
You weren't a real Ohio angler.
I'm not
pimping.
Yeah, I'm not out there
curly tail shads.
Not out there catching sog out of curly tail shads. I'm sorry. But I liked, showing off the gear that I had. I did it to puff out my chest a little bit. I didn't do it to influence. I didn't do it for any reason. I was like, dude, these new Tattoos are so sick. You need to buy one. Like, that's basically what I did. And then it got piggybacked. And like, dude, his content, it was like, MTB codes, like this, that, and the other thing. And I'm just like, man, like when I see it that way, and when I see these guys that they're coming in right now, and they're like, oh, hey, I'm sponsored by Armando and Andrew Hayes and Zach, and use the code and this and that. And they're fishing public, ponds. And it's not, what are you doing to separate yourself is what I'm trying to say. What are you doing to separate yourself? You're not tournament fishing. You're promoting the same stuff people have been promoting since 2015. What are you doing? Like,
they also ruin discount codes.
And they ruin discount codes.
Nobody cares anymore.
You can thank a certain tungsten company for
that. Oh man, it's
remember that? Good Lord, everybody and their mother had that.
Mm-hmm.
I still got one, dude. But what's funny is
if you have a pulse, you still have one.
Yeah. He sends me a text every week letting me know what's going on, and he says, "Hey, Josh," so I know it's for me.
Yeah,
but go on, Armando.
Yeah. When you're born, you get a social security number, tungsten discount code. Like, that's how it is.
Dude, that's a meme. I need to fire up my old fishing meme page, which is actually named after a specific tungsten company. It's just got a different letter.
You just keep it separate from Dark Horse Tackle, Josh.
Of course, but like a birth certificate, right? It says like Andrew Hayes, 8 pounds,
7 pounds, 9 ounces. Use code Andrew Hayes 15.
Use code Blue Hayes 20.
One of the things that brought out, it was like there was no guidance. Like, I remember kind of falling into that trend of saying, oh, that's what they do. And I kind of started doing those things. And then I look back and I can't even look myself in the mirror sometimes, just running back through those memories of what I would used to promote and all that when I had like 500 followers, not knowing any better. And kind of like, it's like, man, that's embarrassing. So I want to go ahead, Andrew, before I ask the question. It seems you have something on your mind there.
Yeah, because you did it right. Like, it's like we all go through those phases where you do that kind of stuff and then you grow out of it. Like, full transparency, I used to do the mystery tackle box stuff way back in the day. And my reason for doing it was because I couldn't afford these lures that everyone was throwing, and I could just make 2 posts a month and I could get them sent to me for free. I was like, okay, this gives me a chance because I can't afford and I don't have the means to go buy this type of stuff or to use what everybody else is using. So that was like my ends to a mean to say, okay, I can go and use these new baits and these new lures and stuff. But then it got to the point like everybody else does where you use that, mystery tackle box or whatever for a while and you get the repeat stuff and it's the same stuff and it gets cheaper and it's in-house brands and you're like, I can't do this anymore. So yeah, I think everybody hits that wall where we all did something like that at one point. We all matured a little bit and we were like, this probably isn't what I want to do for 20 years.
Yeah. And there might have been some people that were in it for the right reasons, but they got frustrated with the backlash of trying to imitate just because there was no blueprint on how to have success. Like when you think about it, the Guggen squad, they came like that was not a blueprint for success as we traditionally know it. back in the day, you want to get sponsored for fishing, go win a few Bassmaster Elites, and maybe you'll be lucky enough to get sponsored. And all of a sudden, it's like, wait a minute, teenagers on YouTube have their own brand now?
Right.
Tackle Bite, like there was no blueprint.
No, they broke it. They broke
it. It was the Wild
Good
West. Yeah.
Good for them. Good for them.
Like, dude, I remember I worked out a deal with a rod company that I will never use again. Jacob Wheeler uses them. And I thought I was
sneaky way of naming them without naming them.
I thought I was the man, dude. Like, I was like, these are so sick. Like, they sent me 12 of them. And they were so confident. They were like, go out there and break them. And I'm like, okay. Like, dude, I was 18. I was riding in a 20-foot bass boat with a 250 horsepower motor every day, learning everything I could about bass fishing. I was an idiot when I was younger. All right. When I was 18 years old, I had the means and I had the ambition and I had the goal of hopping into the Elite Series. Because at the time it was still pay to play. I had the money. To do it. I saved money to do it. I wanted to do it. Started dating a girl. She didn't want me to do it. She's like, wait a minute, you're going to go to La Crosse, Wisconsin without me? And I'm like, yeah. Like,
or you can tag around and sit on the bank for 3 days.
For $100,000, you bet your butt I am. And I didn't. I ultimately didn't. But I went around and, tried to gather sponsors, things like that. And, I worked one out with that rod company. And oh my God, I'll never forget, like, we were in the process of like contract negotiation. This is not pro staff stuff, dude. This was back when you would like email and talk to a guy on the phone and like they'd send you a fax and like you'd have to sign it and like send it back. And I remember I told my dad, I was like, I don't want to do this. And he's like, why? And I'm like, he's like, dude, they're giving you free rods. They're doing this, they're doing that. And I'm like, I hate them. Like, I hate the product. I don't like it. I broke 4 of them, by the way. I broke 3 flipping sticks on the hook set, and I broke a crankbait rod.
But the micro guides.
I know, the micro guides. Dude, you should have seen the one. My dad was there. And this is going to be...
I already know which one you're talking about now. Just
Yep.
Yeah.
Micro magic, baby.
Is that your name in high school?
Hey now.
Damn.
My friends are in here, dude.
Golly. Where did that come from?
That was good. Oh, this guy
lobbed it up. I don't know. I
Dude.
tried everything in my mind to not say it. But it was just,
I tell people all the time. They always ask me, what's Andrew Hayes like? And I said, this dude can let it rip when he's not on his podcast. He can let it rip.
Joshing.
Yeah, there you go. So,
joshing, yeah.
Dude, I'm fishing on Kentucky Lake.
I already got some reels here for Instagram.
There you go. Dude, I'm fishing Kentucky Lake. I'm fishing a ledge, right? I'm with my dad. I'm throwing this 7'10" flipping stick, long distance casting deal, fishing ledges, big worm, whole nine. I set the hook on this fish and it goes, and like 6 guides come out, and my dad looks at me and goes, what the hell was that? And I go, dude, I've got it's micro guides, so there's like 28 per rod.
The inserts came out or the guides broke off?
The guides blew off the rod, dude.
Like where the epoxy
is.
Jeez. 6 of them?
Yeah. I was doing great.
That's got to be
doing great leader.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be like a bad batch of epoxy or something that didn't cure right? Like,
dude,
how does that's nuts.
I lost it. I was like, I can't do this. And my dad's like, but it's a good, you got to think about your future and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I can't do it. I can't throw these, dude. It's been 2 weeks. I've broken 3 of them. I had St. Croix since I was 12 years old that I was still using, dude. Like, I've had these rods. Well, granted, I was 18. I had these rods for 6 years, and I'm like, I can't use these. And that's the thing. Like, what I'm trying to say is, like, I feel like a lot of these guys don't actually like the product they're using.
Yeah.
I think they're just doing it to gain some traction, to gain some clout. They're piggybacking off these companies, but what they don't realize is that these companies don't care, dude.
Yeah.
You think these companies give you a 20? We want you to succeed.
You're still
at
a customer.
Yeah. You're still buying it. You're buying more. You're buying 20% more.
There's a difference. I can kind of see my way to people, not more than kind of, I can see my way to people using gear that they don't necessarily would choose over another brand if that brand is paying their entry fee to a tournament circuit that is their livelihood. Like, I can see that. If I don't really love 13 fishing rods, but 13 fishing is going to pay for a fourth of my entries into the Bassmaster Elite Series, and that's my main job, I'm going to use 13 rods, and that's okay. But yeah, you're right. It's when these people are going out there, it's like a pyramid scheme where they're going out there with a 20% coupon code, and they know that not only am I going to get this kid that I gave the 20% coupon code to buy my rods exclusively from here on out, he's going to tell all of his friends to buy my rods at 20% off. I just need to mark them up a little bit more. And then I just assume that everything that comes in the shop is going to be bought at a 20% discount. I just inflate my prices. Like, that's where all these companies went. And that's what frustrated the crap out of everybody in the fishing industry.
And when you think about it, like, knowing this, working with Douglas rods, right? You get, if you buy directly from the manufacturer at 20% off, guess what? They sell them to the dealer at 50% off or less. Right. So they make more money out of you buying them than selling them to a dealer. Granted, a dealer buys in bulk, you buy maybe one or two. Yeah. So it's one of those things where you're like, what are you in it for? And it's worth your reputation or the way people perceive you as this. And I think everybody needs to, and everybody needs to get more educated when it comes to, especially new anglers, new people that in the social media space that really love fishing. And I wish there was, and maybe Andrew, you probably the best one to kind of like push this forward with your podcast, and kind of educate people like, this is what you should be doing, but not what you should not be, and what you should not be doing.
That's interesting. Like, because what you just talked about, right? That the rod companies sell their rods at 50% to dealers. Yeah. It basically goes to show you, if you're on a rod pro staff or whatever it is, and you're not getting 40 to 50% off your rods, you're a customer, and you're not part of the staff, and they're not using you to just, giving you the rods at cost. It's like, if the markup on rods is crazy. The markup on reels, not so much. The markup on reels is like probably 20% or something.
It's not.
It's probably not even that, right? Yeah.
It's more. No.
Well,
dude, I'll let you in.
Certain brands.
Yep.
Certain
I'll
brands.
Let you in.
There are definitely ones that are in the 40 or 50. I'm talking like your top 2 or 3 are nowhere near 50%.
So I have a deal. I've always had the deal. And you can sit there and say, oh, your daddy, all you want till you're blue in the face. You're just mad that your daddy ain't the general manager. All right. So certain brands starts with a D from Japan.
Yeah.
50% markup.
Yeah.
Everything starts at 50. I get everything at cost from them. I can order from them directly, 50% off. And it's, 50s, it's in between like 42 and 50, but like the rods I like the $200 class rods. I love $200 class rods because when you buy a $400 class rod, you go, this thing better. I better. I'm telling you what, if I don't. So I get the, I go to the median. All the mid-class rods.
The close friend of the D is the S, and the S is a little less than
Demano. That's exactly who it is, Dave.
Demano is not going to give you deals for 42%. It's going to be a little less than that. Yeah.
See, and that's why I'm a D guy. That's why I'm a Demano guy, dude. I'm a Demano guy because I get it for 42.
Oh man,
Big D micro magic, huh?
Iowa sucks. I don't think
Iowa.
Iowa's awful.
Hate them.
Oh man. All right, so I know that the title of the podcast, well, let's talk tackle. So at some point, I figure we have to talk a little bit about tackle. let's start with, and I invite the listener, the people that are watching on our social media. What we're gonna do is overrated, underrated, kind of stealing a little bit from Alex Robb, but we're gonna be talking about tackles. If you have like an overrated, underrated bait that you want to throw out, put in the comments. We'll let the panel decide if overrated, underrated. But let's start with the classics, and we'll go each one. Andrew, we'll start with you, then Josh, then Zach. Oh God, I gotta start with this one because we were talking about it. Andrew, Senko, the Senko, the original one, the
real,
yes. Over or under?
Very overrated.
Wow.
Very.
Okay.
Like with a capital V, very overrated.
Okay. Josh, I'm gonna let Zach go first because I know you're gonna have a different take, and I think we should end that one. But yeah. Zach, overrated or underrated?
I'm a flatline on the Senko. I can't give you overrated or underrated. I'm a flatline on it. It's neither here nor there. It works, but I can't give you one or the other. It's literally, it falls right in that dead zone for me where, yeah, they work, and sometimes they work really well, and sometimes they're so freaking boring I can't stand to use them. So. I mean, when you say overrated, underrated, like what are you asking? Like, are you asking the enjoyment I get out of
the brand,
the specific
Senko,
bait, like
yeah.
Senko compared to a Yum, which is Senko's a more
a Gary Yamamoto Senko, not a Yum Dinger, not a Sticko. Name brand Gary Yamamoto Senko.
Oh, geez, I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to say the same thing. It's right in the middle. I mean, it holds a place, but. I mean, I've caught just as much with others.
What about you, Josh?
I have not.
Yeah.
So I think it's properly rated. The reason why the Senko is copied by every single company, there's a reason for that. Now, right now, being bought out by multi-billion-dollar bait company, whoever, Andrew knows I hate that. And we can talk about that here in a bit. Being bought out by whatever, that shot the product down. And if the formula changes, I will change my opinion. So I used to work at Walmart. Walmart started discounting their Gary Yamamoto Senkos from $5.99 a bag, properly rated for a 10-pack, to then they got the new product, $7.99 for 7. So they took out 3 baits with this. This is that thing we were talking about earlier. Not political, but this is that capitalistic. Can we get more? Can we get more?
Boys, this was like 16 pictures, a 15-minute phone call, and like 50 texts whenever found these.
I'm sure Josh was heated. Oh,
I lost.
Josh was ready to run through a brick
wall.
When
dude,
I
lost it.
Yeah.
When we got that new packaging in, I was like, okay, the packaging's kind of like new age, whatever. And then I was like, 7.
He's
7?
Like, what's wrong with that guy? It's like, don't talk to him.
Listen, dude. Listen, he is a
he's in a dark place right now.
Yeah, he's in a bad.
There's 3 less
spot.
plastic worms in a bag. He's really struggling here.
Look,
he's going cold turkey now.
So, the Senko was kind of a copy off of the Sluggo, but the Sluggo was not as good as the Senko for. For every reason known to man, this Sluggo hasn't been fished since 1982. But the Senko itself, as the Yamamoto, I would say right now, the way it is overrated. But the stick worm, as a presentation, is the greatest presentation of bait
I agree.
You could ever present to a fish, because if you Texas rig it weightless and you throw it in front of a fish's face and they look at it and they go, nah, you can go, you know what? I'm going to put it right through the middle then, and I'm going to put a little weight on its head, and it's going to sink like this, and then its butt's going to do something, and then you're going to, oh, you're still not into that? Okay, well, I'm going to cut it in half and put it on a jig head, and I'm going to throw it right in front of your bed. And if that doesn't work, I'll just grab another one in Texas. You can do a lot with it. That's all I'm saying. Now, the Senko itself, the old school Senko, dude, there's a reason. You got to, you gotta pay respect to the homies. You gotta pour some out for Gary Yamamoto for making something.
There's a reason why all stick baits are called Senkos.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
It's like, listen, this is the fishing world's Kleenex. They're actually called tissue paper.
Yeah.
But you say, hey, you got a Kleenex?
Like Band-Aid.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
like Band-Aid. Yeah. I don't go, hey, do you have a
bandage?
A medical.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
bandage.
I have a wound.
Masking tape with a sponge.
Yeah,
That's called a Viking Band-Aid.
Which is why I would. This is why I would argue, though, that it's hard for something that has become synonymous with a bait to be underrated.
So
that's where I have a problem with it.
Let's reverse. Let's reverse.
I think
the
it's
order.
overrated. If it's all over the place, where it's like we're calling every single stick bait out there a Senko, then I think it's hard to say that it's underrated. It's
I can agree with
literally
that.
the name for the technique now.
But overrated implies that it's not worth the rating it gets. That's why I say properly rated. The reason why
underrated makes me think that it's like it's not getting the
I'm not gonna sit here and say
it's not getting the notice that it deserves. Like it's not getting the notice. It's what we call every stick bait.
What's up, YouTube? Have you heard of Cincos? Like, come on.
Which is why I went with rated. It's rated.
Flatline.
I'm not going
proper
high or low.
Ooh.
So I think that as far as overrated baits, we're gonna have to go to and I'm gonna generalize. We're gonna hop on over to these companies that are purely going after your influencers. So your Guggen baits. There is an overrated factor to the Guggen baits. And I'm not going to say, listen, dude, every bait catches fish, dude. I could put a freaking, if Colin's watching, shout out to Colin, I could put a little bit of a hot dog on a hook, go out to a pond and catch whatever I want. But when Guggen baits hit the market, honestly, it's like you gotta respect them at some point. I don't.
Oh yeah.
Not like, dude, you got a bunch of rich dudes who are in marketing and sales backgrounds, and they're like, hey, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make knockoffs of like every bait we've ever seen. We're not even gonna get permission either. Like, there's probably a guy in the boardroom meeting where they're like, doesn't that look oddly like a rage tail? And they just threw him out of the window. They were like, get out of here, shut up, get out.
And then had to pay.
And then they had to pay. And
License it. Yeah.
People.
I want to jump in on something like that because I think a lot of times we criticize companies, and rightfully so, for their knockoff. We saw it in ICAST this year have more knockoffs than anyone. And I know
I'll fight on this one. Let's go. Yeah.
Andrew,
okay, Berkeley fanboy.
And I know Andrew jumped on one of them, made a video of it on one of the ones he liked. And I'm not saying they don't work. I will say this: I'm not a hypocrite. I'm a fisherman, but I'm also a consumer. And what as we consumers don't like, what you just mentioned a few minutes ago, Josh, up the price, lower the quality or the quantity, I pay more. So going back to, not going to name names, but a very famous knockoff that happened at ICAST 2023, I'm like, you know what? I get it. But now a bait that was $45, I can get for $12. And not only am I getting it for $12.
Oh, God.
I don't know what that bait you could be talking about. We definitely don't have one here.
I'll see you guys later.
And they actually improved it. That's the other thing. It's a knockoff, but they actually made some small improvement. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm going to buy that bait because, first of all, they're not sold out. Like the original one is on the oversold every time I go to the website. Second of all, it's 1/3 of the price. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite about it. I'm happy about it. And I'll tell you what, September 1st, which is tomorrow, they go online. My wife's going to be really mad at me because I'm going to buy a boatload of them. However, I do have to give props to companies like Seaman, And if anybody doesn't know, I mentioned this on a podcast before. I don't remember if it was mine or the one I did with Paddler's Playbook when I was their guest. But I'll give Seaman props. You know, Seaman, when we look at the chatterbait, the original vibrating jig head, I was done by a fisherman. And it all of a sudden, this anglers are fishing on tournaments were winning tournament on this bait because bass have never seen anything like this. And they were gorging on them. Seaman did the right thing. He made that person, they made that person whole. They said, like, all right, we're gonna pay you, and we want that patent design, which from what I understand, there wasn't a patent design. Seaman could have just easily copied it, and guess what? They didn't have to pay that person a dime, but they did. They, even though it takes money away from their pocket, they're like, we're gonna do this right. We're gonna pay for them, and we're gonna now have the patent on it, and we're gonna protect this patent. So a lot of people got on Seaman's case when they were making, you know, the homemade chatterbaits and then selling them. Seaman, no. We paid the angler that did that. And we paid a lot of money, so we have exclusivity. Now Evergreen came up with one, and there was a partnership. There was like, okay, we got this chatterbait. We want to use it. And Seaman, I don't know the whole logistic of the relationship, but they teamed up and they say, you know what? This is going to cost us money. Well, guess what? We never seen a chatterbait, the jackhammer, $15, $16, sometimes $20 in Bass Pro Shop. It cost us money, but they did it the right way. Now the patent for the jackhammer, which was really just the direct attachment on the blade to the head, expired. Now that it expired, guess what? Seaman brought a new chatterbait, which cost $10, which is what it would have cost if they wouldn't have done that transaction with Evergreen. So I have to give respect to, as much as I love what other companies did with this plastic glide bait, and I'll buy them. You can bet your bottom dollar that I'll buy it. I have to give props to Seaman for going about it the right way, even though it cost them money. So that's all I have to say with it.
And absolutely. I think people don't. I think a lot of these people that jump on the knockoff bandwagon hatred thing, I really don't think that they know what they're asking for. Without knockoffs, there would be almost zero evolution of our bass fishing baits. Everybody gets an idea from somewhere. Everybody is inspired from something. I went to art school, and I got to tell you, there's like 3 or 4 artists that from the past that I really loved, and they inspired me. And a lot of my early stuff looked just like theirs. But then it grew and it changed into something else. And so I think what you said, Armando, about, you know, doing it the right way, that's very important. That is very important, you know. But like, I don't think a lot of these people that jump on this, hey, screw you, knock off, they don't understand the evolution of bass baits or anything for that matter. We all build on things, you know, and there's a lot of crooks out there that are just going to straight up copy, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
I don't really think people know what they're asking for or what they're talking about when they start screaming about knockoffs. Like, this is how things change. This is how things evolve. This is how things get better. This is how we get a chatterbait.
It's how you get like, I don't know when competition as a consumer became a bad thing. Like, competition as a consumer is what drives prices down. Like you said, it's what drives things to be in demand more. If there was only one company that was allowed to make a bladed jig, they could charge whatever they wanted. It could be in stock wherever they like. There's no debt to the consumer to either provide them at a fair price or make them available or do what you want. So like, competition is always a good thing for consumers. That's why when you go to Walmart, there's 4 different brands of Cheerios. It's because yes, Cheerios or whoever made it first, but you have Walmart-O's, and there's also the added caveat that like, there's some people that just can't afford. I've said this a billion times. They can't afford a $45 glide bait. Yeah. And it's showing. Like, I so many of the people I know, like, we grew up shopping at Aldi. You shop at, you know, second chance stores for your clothes and things like that. Like, not everybody can afford these $300 pinky up baits from Japan that you had to wait 4 years to be sent in the mail, and it was signed by the Japanese guy that made it, and it's one of one. It's like, no, the regular people that are out there just want something that will catch fish. And like, I'm all for, if you can give me a bait that catches me fish at a lower price, or it's more affordable, or it's more available, or whatever, like, I don't understand why this is the bait in my hand that everybody decided that now we have to have integrity about. Like,
Well, and
because it's Berkeley, that's why.
I've
yeah,
got
exactly.
it.
Well, that's a part of it too.
well,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. But you know, it is to Berkeley's, you know, I guess detriment. You know, you had the Chapo. It's one of those things that it's like, okay, there's
a pattern.
There's a few years in a row now where there's no innovation. It's just straight up copy. Now again, they did improve on it. I would have liked to see, instead of just pretending this is our innovation, just recognition and
So
find a deal. But I'll let you go, Josh. But I want to finish this before we go move forward with this.
Right.
I think there should have been some recognition, like this is our inspiration, and maybe you make a contract where you bring this person on board and you say, hey, we're going to pay you, even if it's just kind of like not a fake title that's like, you know, engineer specialist of bait, you know, bait and whatever, just a title to kind of like say we bought this inspiration from them and now we bring him in as a, you know, somebody that tests baits for us and innovation stuff, and something that doesn't completely ignore, because it's just way too similar. And I think what made it worse was the fact that you won an award for innovation. That made it worse. Like
that rubs a lot of people the wrong way. Yeah,
Armando's taking the words out of my mouth, man.
That is what
I've got to weigh in on this.
Yeah.
So, like you said, it's the fact that when they did the videos, they did it like your typical cringy 12,000 sub follower Instagram haver. And they were like, oh, what's up, dude? This is the new, brand new, never before seen Berkeley Nessie, da-da-da. And it's like, dude, we've seen it. We know what it is. And it was so awkward because, like, everybody was like, we know what that is. We know what that is. We've seen that before, dude. So it's not just the Berkeley. It's the Rapala with the soft plastics, the Doe Life Beaver,
I have
the
one on
drop
that.
shot baits. I'll bet you do, Andrew. I'll bet you do. You have to.
because what you're complaining about right now, Rapala did. They did what you want them to do. Like, go and listen to when I talked to Wheeler at iCast. In the interview, he says, I got this inspiration from OSP, but my problem with OSP is that it's not durable. So I made an OSP version that's durable.
Very fair.
So it's like, that is the thing that we all want, right? You just want the transparency.
It's that. That's it. That's it.
A nod of the hat or the tip of the cap to where it came from, and tell me why I should buy yours and not that one.
Exactly.
And make there be a real difference.
Does it have the 8 times 10? Does it have the 18 times cent? Does it have the cent?
I think it's 17. Yeah.
Oh, 17 now?
I don't just
going down, huh? Going down.
We're splitting hairs here.
Yeah.
And I actually got blocked by a very bearded bald guy who likes to kayak fish, who's been on both of y'all's podcasts from Tennessee.
Oh, really? Wow.
I was going.
Why do you think I said, whenever he said I'm going to restart my meme channel, I said just make sure it doesn't have anything to do with Dark Horse Tackle.
So it comes down to the fact that Berkeley is owned by Pure Fishing, who is owned by the Jardine Corporation, who is a multi-billion dollar, like this dude. This company owns 50 to 75% of the American fishing industry. Okay, that's a lot. You're telling me they don't have the funds. You're telling me they don't have the scientists. You're telling me they don't have the people to go, okay, so what can we do to revolutionize something? Let's revolutionize something. And they were like, well, ICAST 2023 is coming up, and look, dude, there's this Japanese bait that's like really hard to get, and I just made this. It's called the Nessie.
See, that's where there's different schools of thought, because to me, that's enough. Like, to me, if you make a bait that's available and it's
that is good
price or fourth the price, I'm cool. Like, I don't care about the back end ethics of whatever as much as you wish you did. But at the end of the day, I'm just a guy that likes to go fishing, and if you can give me a bait that's $14,
no, I agree. Like I said, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'll buy them. I'm not going to diss them, but I would have liked to see. It comes to a point where it's like. Yeah, tip of the cap, but it comes to a point where, like, now you're getting the reputation, but it also puts the pressure on their social media content creators who have to go out there and do these videos and then get the heat from their followers. Is like, yo, you're
you're about to
promoted.
get dragged through the mud
you're
for this,
gonna
but you have
get
to do it
dragged,
anyway.
which,
Yeah.
fair or unfair, that's what happened.
There's,
They're the firing squad for
Yeah.
the brands. Like, go out there,
pitch and forks and
take
torches and all that.
take the brunt for this.
There's one more reason why the bait we're talking about took so much heat that we haven't mentioned yet.
Oh, really? What is that?
Yes, there's one more reason. And I honestly think it's probably the biggest reason. And that is, and guys, I love you. I love each and every one of you. Buy our quarterly box. Swim bait, guys.
Oh yeah, that's a cold.
Oh yeah,
That is a
That's why.
huge cold.
Swim bait,
Yeah.
guys.
That is.
They dipped their toe into a pool of water. I don't think they understood what they were dipping their toe into quite yet.
And
knocking off a JDM swim bait. Like,
yeah.
you
that
hit
is-
two very vocal minorities of people that feel a very certain way about something, and you crossed over both of them.
Yes.
It just jumped right in the pool.
You're talking about guys that have been trying to perfect their craft, their craftsmanship on these baits for years and years and years. They're doing the work and everything else. And so they have a massive chip on their shoulder, and a lot of them rightly so. So I mean, I kind of get it from that aspect, but yeah, I don't think the company in question counted on swim bait guys.
Yeah, no, and I think I mentioned this. I think on the Paddler's Playbook podcast, it's like it feels like whoever's doing the marketing and making those marketing decisions is not a fisherman. I don't know if there is or not. I don't know, but you and I know this, and everybody here on this panel knows this. You have to understand your crowd. Everybody. If you would have asked us, hey, Zach, hey, Josh, hey, Andrew, what do you think would be the best way to approach this? You would have said, do not make the swim bait guys your enemy. There may be a small crowd, but it is a borderline
crowd.
Yeah,
It's a very distinguished group.
They think they're better than all of us.
Yes.
This is beer, this is kind of a beer term here, but they are and I'm sorry if there's anybody out there, they're the long handlebar mustache IPA drinkers of.
You got a problem with mustaches?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Andrew. You got a problem with this scruff?
Yeah, there's nothing here. Yeah.
All right.
They're like the hipsters of fishing. Yeah, it's like just the you caught that.
That's BFS now, dude.
Was it on a bait that was below 3 inches? Wow,
that's
beta.
That's BFS now. BFS is going to be the next swim bait group.
BFS is another good one.
Oh, you didn't catch it on a 1/82 jig head with a half-inch bait? That looks
I've completely bastardized
you.
The hook that was on my bait was smaller than my fingernail.
You should watch this guy throw his BFS setup. He's throwing like 3/8-ounce crankbaits. He's like, BFS, baby. BFS.
Throwing DT10.
Gang sign, tattoos, street life.
He's throwing everything on this thing, dude. He was flipping with it one day. he's throwing a 4.5-inch crawl bait.
I respect it.
Okay, what group of people have we not pissed off so we can just go full circle here? Nah, just kidding.
Catfish guys.
They were mad to begin with.
Those guys, I don't think those guys have a data plan to even be on Instagram right now or YouTube. So.
Here we go.
They're not even gonna be there. They just spent $80 on the most expensive combo they've ever bought, and half of that was beer.
You want to talk about some guys that drop some money? Have you ever seen the catfish combos that these guys are buying?
They're
paying
insane.
thousands of dollars for like pay lake setups.
Yeah. And it's like they're custom rods too. Like it's like, oh, do you like the Pyrazanite inlay on my? Like you're throwing a 400 class round reel that you literally click a button and just.
All right, somebody mentioned the 110. I'm assuming they're talking about the Vision 110.
Yeah.
They wanted you guys over underrated. Let's start again with you, Andrew. Vision 110, overrated or underrated?
I'm gonna say overrated, but
Really?
not as bad as because again, it's like it's all in perspective. So it's like when we're talking about a style of jerkbait and you're calling it a 110 because you're talking about a Megabass Vision 110. It's the first thing people come to mind. But I will say, do I think they're worth the money? if you have the money for them, yes, I think they're worth the money. But are they? I have a hard time again calling them underrated because of how popular they are out there and how much they get talked about and how much it gets thrown around. I used to be one of those guys that you probably couldn't have given me a 110 and I would have thrown it because I would have been scared that I would have liked it, and then I would have needed $15 jerkbaits the rest of my life, or $25 jerkbaits the rest of my life. And then I started throwing one. And there are situations where I think a Vision 110 works where other jerkbaits won't. It's more controllable. It's the little nuances, the weight transfer of everything in this. You can buy the 110 blanks online and you can fish them. They're not the exact same as getting a Megabass Vision 110. And especially like we're about to hit this time of year where when you get in this painfully cold water and you need that bait to just sit there. And I'm talking no up, no down. When you twitch it just a little bit, I don't want this like weird roll of it. I want it to actually cut. On the smallest of twitches, a Vision 110 will do that. So when you're dealing with like ultra clear, ultra finicky fish, maybe it's cold outside, I think a Vision 110 definitely has a place in your box.
So you said overrated, but everything you said after that it sounded like
it's
you meant
good.
Underrated.
Yeah, it's no, it's good. I don't know. I have a hard time with overrated, underrated.
It's because the question is
popular. Because it is so popular that I have a hard time saying that it doesn't get the shine that it should. Because it definitely gets as much shine as it should, if not more. But there are certain situations where I think you need to throw a 110 all the time. No. But are there certain situations that a 110 performs better than a stunner, than a any sort of knockoff 110 and the 6 cents provoke, all that kind of stuff? Yes, there are spots where a 110 will do you better.
What about you, Josh?
I agree with Andrew. Basically everything he said. The suspension rate on a jerkbait is what you pay money for. You don't pay money for action. You don't pay money for paint jobs. You pay money for the utility of the bait itself. And that utility is the fact that no matter the water temperature that bait is going to suspend, it's not going to rise. It's not going to sink. It's going to stay true. Staying true is very important in jerkbaits. I'm kind of a jerkbait guy. I think it is the most underrated form of fishing as far as a technique goes. I fish a jerkbait all year round, and what I've noticed is I do think that the Megabass 110 is an overrated bait. And that solely comes down to the fact that you're paying for a bait made in Korea, not Japan. Sorry, guys. Japanese company. But
how dare you?
I know. Like you said, you're paying $24 for a guy's autograph on a bait. And
it's a good bait.
Listen, it's a good bait. But I don't think that, I'm not going to sit here and say I'd throw a Smithwick over it. Jesus Christ.
Okay. Whoa. All right. Just shots at Smithwick. What did Smithwick ever do to anybody? Smithwick.
It's such a boomer bait. I
love Smithwick. I have probably 50 Smithwicks in this closet behind me.
I believe it. I have a ton of them. I mean, dude, those were the jerk baits you could get though. But the Smithwicks,
rattling rogue. Oh my goodness gracious.
Boring. I throw an evergreen flag. I think it's called a flag. No, that's the bait Berkeley copied off of.
Got to sneak that in.
That was planned all along.
Jeez.
I throw an evergreen jerk bait. It's a similar suspension rate. It's up in that 19. It's up in that teens. I think the action's better. I can get more side to side. And if you pop it, you can kind of get it to do like a backflip, or you can get it to do glide bait quality stuff on a bait that's 3.5 inches long, and will sit there, not sink, not rise. It'll sit there. You get it to do some rodeo tricks, and it stays, which is perfect. And the hooks are way better. I don't care for the outside barb hooks.
You've got a good point there too, where it's like the suspension versus action. There are definitely jerkbaits I like the action better of, like a Jackal re-range is sick. I love Jackal re-ranges. Yes. But you're right. If you're looking for if you're throwing it in the spring and you're going crazy, then a 110 you don't need. But again, if you are just in the most delicate of situations,
Zach,
I'm
with you.
I like the Strike Kings though.
They're not bad.
I'm going to say the bait is overrated. And the reason why I'm going to tell you that it's overrated is because there are God knows how many anglers out there, and each and every one of them fishes different. And if you think that you need to buy a 110 Megabass jerkbait to catch fish, you're wrong. You don't need to. You can make it work with whatever works for you. You know, is it a great jerk bait? Absolutely, it is. There's a reason why there's a lot of people that are being inspired by it.
Yeah.
There's a reason for it. You know, they did a great job, but it's overrated in the sense that everybody thinks that, you know, this is the standard. It's not the standard.
I paid for this. You pay that money. You know, you pay that money. You expect it. I've got a handful of 110s. I've caught more fish on 110 KOs than I ever
the one
have.
thing though, you're gonna pay $25 for a jerkbait, and that bill is gonna break off at some point that year.
Yup.
Yeah.
Hitting the water.
Yeah.
Hitting the water, dude.
Yeah.
It's gonna break off hitting the
It's
water.
not durable. No.
Hey man, planned obsolescence and people losing lures is what keeps this industry going. I'm all for it.
True.
Hey, we've got that.
True. Yeah.
This is not an infomercial, but we have that build your own box feature now, baby. So if you break off one of those fancy frogs of yours, or you know, you just want to build your own Dark Horse tackle box, hop on in, $35. Anyway,
Wolf of Wall Street asks Evergreen 75. I'm assuming he wants us to.
it is the it's
I'm
the
not familiar with
75.
it.
Yeah.
So
But-
the 70, it's a very small jerkbait. What I like about it, so here's what I like about it. The Megabass recently came out with the 110 Junior, which is, I think it's a 90 or a 95. Evergreen does make like a 3/16 ounce, like very small, legit jerkbait that will dive down to that like 4 to 8 foot range, depending on how like hard you're working it. Now when I work a jerkbait, dude, like I'm anticipating the fish looking up. I'm anticipating suspended fish looking upwards and going, I'm going to move to this because what is this thing doing? Why in the hell is this bait fish doing backflips, 360s? It just went down to 2 feet. Now it's back up at a half a foot, and now it's at 6 foot. What is going on? What's going on with this guy? I need to feel it with my mouth. That is the anticipation. That is my thought process on throwing a jerkbait all the time. I actually don't, Andrew. I don't throw them slow at all year.
Oh God,
Like,
I do. Oh man.
Dude, I will obviously
Painfully slow.
extend. I will extend the pause. But there was a day in December. I went out on my home lake, very pressured. Water temperature was 39 degrees, and I'm marking fish that are above the thermocline, and the thermocline's at about 12 feet. And these fish are coming up out of 12 foot of water and hitting a bait at 4. Like, it was nuts. Like, I had a backlash on my jerkbait rod, so I just kind of banged it out, and I was like, I might as well work it back. And I'm sitting there, and I was like, ding, 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 just working it as fast as I can, reeling it, 7-to-1 gear ratio reel, get a bite. And I'm like, that bait could not have been in any deeper than 3 to 4 feet. And I'm working.
That's the fun part about fishing is you're going to find situations where you can
Makes
get
no
a
sense.
fish hit freaking top water in 39 degrees.
Yeah.
It's
Bass
okay.
will make you a liar every single time.
Oh yeah.
I love lying. I love it. I tell guys, go ahead.
I don't know if this one's a joke or not. Jig Masters Microbus.
It is a
overrated,
joke.
Underrated.
It is a joke.
Nick DeShane, what's up, buddy?
Possibly, in the grand scheme of baits that should be at ICAST, that should be promoted, that people should know about, that is
Yes.
the most underrated bait.
Yes.
That, as far as people not knowing about it,
It's
and
criminal.
the utility you can get out of
Yes.
it, dude. This thing's got it's a quarter
It's
ounce, 3/16.
3/16.
Talk about it, Andrew. You know it.
Yeah. It's
Preach,
under
brother,
3/16.
preach.
Yeah.
Take it
It's-
away.
It's just
Preach
right
the
at like
gospel.
3/16. I basically went to Cody at Jig Masters, and I know Armando, you know Cody at Jig
Yeah.
Masters. You guys all, he's
Had
a
one
great
thing, yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
And I went to Cody. This is like 3 years ago, probably at this
Yep.
point. I was like, Cody, I have waited for a company for 10 years to make a bait that no one has made. And I like, there was like 1 or 2 kind of things out there that you could modify to make what I wanted. And it was still awful because of the wire and stuff. I was like, I'd never talked about making a bait with anybody before. I was like, can you make me some of these more for me, like not to sell or whatever. I was like, I have been using Strike King mini buzzes, ripping the skirt off of them, throwing a grub on them, and then using them for 4 fish and throwing them away for 10 years. Like, I'm tired of doing it. It's like, can you make one without a skirt, put a screw lock on it so that plastic will last basically forever, give me a black nickel hook, and make the wire like musky wire. Like I want it to be like 50 thou wire.
Did you notice he thinned it out?
Yeah.
He did thin it out.
Yeah. Which is fine because he was still, when we originally did it, it was still way above the thickness that I needed it to be. So it's fine. And because his big thing was like, this is all the stuff I learned, I guess. When you have that little bit of lead that's making that head, it's so hard to make the bait that we wanted with that minimal amount of lead because there's not enough to like attach the hook and have the, loop and stuff in there. And so it took probably 4 or 5 iterations to get something that would work. And
that thing is
freaking
so
awesome.
It's so crazy. I caught a 4-pound pike on one of these, and I still have it.
Yeah,
and it still works, silly. And it still runs. And the greatest part about it is it's not really a buzzbait. It's like a weird waking spinner bait that looks like a buzzbait. If you use it correctly.
I remember when Andrew DM'd me one day, and
and it is very underrated, by the way, if you want my opinion.
He's like,
of course.
He's like, check this thing out. And I'm like, okay.
What is that? Where did you get it?
Now we're talking. Like, we're talking Ohio, dude. Yeah. We're talking. And he's like, don't tell anybody. He's like, this bait's like 2 inches long.
Yeah.
Harnesses a grub. And that's it. Like the first time I used it, it was actually like still the weird spawn time because he had just released it. We put it in a box. It was like May, late April. Yeah, dude, I'm throwing this thing in late April. There's bass on beds eating this bait. They're demolishing this bait. The males are guarding the beds.
They've never seen a bladed waking grub before.
What's that, Zach?
You watched me on Lake Arthur with that thing. It was disgusting.
Right. Like, and that's
it was disgusting. It was like nonstop, fish after fish after fish after fish after fish after fish after fish. Like you can't stop it. They can't help themselves. They're like, what in the good God is that?
It's a finesse, power fishing, topwater, subsurface lure.
I never know how to describe it to people. Like, just try one. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But
it's dude, but
Jig Masters, Cody Jennings, get one.
It is such a good catalyst. Like, it's such a good catalyst for any bait. Like, I've thrown crawls on it. I've thrown swim baits. I've thrown grubs. I've thrown just literal stick worms. Like, you take a little Ned bait, just put some meat on the back end of that thing, and it just works, dude. It just works. This is the new inline spinner if you need it to be one, but it's also a buzz bait. It's meant to be used as a buzz bait, Zach. It's meant to be used as a buzz bait.
So I don't think I've ever ran it on top of the water.
I sent one to you guys know him, Bailey Eigbert. I sent one to him. And I was like, just humor me and like try this. And I got like a day later, I got a text. He was like, dude. I was like, I know. Like I tried to tell you. Just try it.
Nope. Yeah. You and Cody done good, man. That's a hell of a bait. Definitely underrated.
Definitely gonna get one of those then. As soon as this podcast ends, I'm gonna get into Jig Masters website and go order them. Have you had that bait? Any plans of getting that bait on the Dark Horse tackle boxes?
We've had it in there at least twice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right, so we've been here for an hour and 30 minutes, and I really appreciate you guys taking time. I don't want to.
Oh, this is a blast, man.
It's been awesome. I definitely want you guys back at some point. But let's bring this full circle, and I'll start with you, Andrew. Where can people follow you? Where can people listen to you? What's next with the Tackle Talk podcast?
Yeah, so Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, wherever you listen to podcasts, like we're there. We're on all of them. You can go to tackletalkpodcast.com. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on all those things. But just the goal is keep it going. It's crazy how much this thing has grown and take on a life of its own in the past 4 years. And it's like anything else where you start, you're doing it for, I was looking back at download numbers a couple weeks ago, pulling them for somebody. And I was like, dang, I can't believe I stuck through those first 6 months, 8 months when you're getting nothing. Nobody's listening to it. And I'm still cranking out an episode every single Tuesday. And then eventually it's like anything else. If you stick with it, it may take longer than you want it to catch on. But if you're consistent and you put out something good, no matter what it is or what industry or whatever you're in, like it will catch on eventually and it will start to pick up traction. It's just a matter of how fast does it happen. And I'm definitely thankful that it was a slow burn at the beginning, because it made it more like we were talking about earlier with like Dark Horse. It's the same thing.
Well, yeah,
It's
it
like
got me on there. So
sustainable. So it's super cool. We've got some great things coming up. We got some really cool guests. I recorded 2 guest episodes, one tonight, one last night that we got coming out. Got another big one coming up this week. So that's just trying to keep it fresh and keep it entertaining. And I don't know. My goal is always, if you give me 30 to 60 minutes of your time, I want you to learn something or have something to take out on the water the next time you come, and not just have a show where someone fires on a microphone and was like, for 2 hours and waste your time. It's like, I want to give you something that was worth the time that you gave me.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. I gotta mention it.
Go ahead.
I had taken a hiatus from fishing for quite a while, and my son got me back into it, and so I started looking for a podcast, something to listen to while I was working. Tackle Talk was the one I found, and that's how I learned about Dark Horse Tackle in the first place. I ended up becoming pro staff for Dark Horse Tackle, and now I'm a co-owner of Dark Horse Tackle. Thanks, Andrew. Amazing fucking guest, man. Ooh.
That's awesome.
well,
It's all good, man. It's all good, brother. No, and honestly, I see one of the things that I noticed, and this goes back to, I listen to Andrew. I see the effort that he puts on, the quality that he puts on. I may not always agree with everything he says or whatever, because that's, people think differently. But the one thing that I always look back is like the love that he has for this podcast, and then the transparency, the genuine, just being himself comes out. And when I hear him talking about Dark Horse Tackle, then I have to believe, or I choose to believe, this company has to be good if Andrew is promoting it. It could be, it's very easy to promote a big company that's quote unquote think that you're gonna help you grow, like Mystery Tackle Box and all that. Like everybody, Mystery Tackle Box could give you a 5% discount. Everybody will still jump on and promote them. But
we'll give you baits to catch fish.
Yeah. But when I hear Andrew talking about it, I was like, okay, this has got to be a good company. And same goes with Brad Hicks and Matt Souders from the Catch Podcast. So yes, I agree with what Eli itself is saying. It's like, it is. When you hear Andrew talking about it, at the very least, he's being honest. So
yeah, and it was like that from the beginning, like before either of you two were owners of this, and back when it was the original guy, Derek. Yes, Derek. When it was Derek, and then when it passed on, like the whatever now, I guess 3 generations of ownership groups of this thing, like it's been the same product every time and the same mission, which is like, again, I love the idea of the box coming to me and it being companies that I'm getting introduced to for the first time, and people that are here and making things the right way. And it's not just an in-house brand that they bought for 10 cents and they put in a box and told you it was worth $50. Like, I like the idea of, it's almost like Christmas every morning, because you guys are doing what Mystery Tackle Box, Lucky Tackle Box, all those guys wanted to do originally, which is like introduce people to baits every month. And then money gets in the way, people get a little lazy, and then it's like, oh, we can just throw our own baits in this thing and we can send them out and the 12-year-olds won't know the difference.
Right.
Yeah.
The
so you guys, hats off to you guys. You guys do it right. It's an awesome product. And I think that, people that are subscribing, it's like, even if you find 1 or 2 people that become a go-to company for you, like you guys are the guys that I found my custom painter through. Dark Corner.
Blake.
Blake is nuts. Like, if
Insane.
I ever catch a 10-pound bass, the guy that I'm going to trust to make my replica is Blake. And like
every time.
That kind of stuff. Like, even if it's not every single box is now my favorite jig I've ever used in my entire life. Like, you're opening the door to companies that I didn't know about before, which I like.
Yeah, that's the mission, man. It's like, dude, so we want you to be able to utilize everything we put in the box. And I do, and Zach does, and we will do it until. But
not every single one's going to be a fit for you.
Exactly. Like there's stuff. Listen, man, I understand. You might live on Havasu and your average fish catch is at 60 feet because all it is sunny and deep, clear water. But like, there's going to be a bait that works for you. Like it's a very utilitarian box. We do everything we can to make it as universal as possible. And you got to think, man, throughout the 50 states and all of the mass of North America. You've got Canada, you've got Mexico, we've got international customers. Like throughout North America, like it's hard to generalize. And there's a lot of stuff that like we put in the box where Zach and I know damn well, hey, this probably isn't going to be something that works for us here in our area. We're going to try it. We're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. But, you know, somebody in Texas might be like, this is exactly what I needed. And, you know, this is a bait that caught me my PB. That's all we're trying to do, dude.
We have a saying at work where it's like, you can't be everything to everyone. It's like, it's a tough thing to do sometimes. You try and do the best you can, but you're never going to be, if you're trying to reach the masses with something, you're never going to be a perfect fit for everybody. Yeah.
Not in a million years.
My mom used to say, you're not $100 bills. Not everybody's going to love you.
Exactly.
We ain't everybody's cup of tea, and that's fine. I mean, realistically, the whole deal is, look, if you love the fishing industry, you want to keep it, you know, you want to keep small businesses around because, look, man, we are at a time where there are like some serious stakes against the fishing industry solely because of how big it got over the past 5 years. And it's slow. I mean, dude, you go to Bass Pro Shops now, it's 5 brands. It's 5 brands. And that doesn't even count their in-house brand that they are just shoving down your throat. Like, it's, you know, you've got Guggen, Strike King. Sometimes you'll run into a Megabass, but
Z-Man.
you know, Z-Man, and you know, you've got your Berkeley, and then it's like, yeah, sure, you've got a very, you know, you've got a 6-inch by 2-foot row of, you know, like Gets It tubes or something where somebody's got a way to wholesale them. And
I haven't seen Gets It tubes anywhere forever, dude.
Well, you come to Columbus, I'll show you where they're at.
And by the way, the very first stick bait I ever caught a bass on was a Bass Pro Shops brand.
Dude, that's
the
all I used
stickos,
to use.
The stickos aren't bad.
I used to buy
Stickos
the
aren't
30
bad.
pack of them all the time. Yeah.
So do I. So, hey, listen, I'll tell you, growing up in Ohio, okay, very pressured water, Armando. I'm telling you, this isn't DFW, bro. This isn't. I can't just wake up and catch a 6-pounder. All right. So Ohio is very tough, and it's a very competitive place to fish. And I would consider Ohio. I'm not going to say it's a destination state. I'm not saying that. I would say it is top 5. Now, you go a little, okay, you go 3 hours north, yep, destination state. You want to catch a 6-pound smallmouth? Come on over, bro. Let me show you something. But destination state, no. Top 5 in fishing? Absolutely. As far as boat registration, kayak registration, and people just fishing in general, it's insane. So,
you know, they're sick with it.
I would say underrated. Ohio is underrated.
I thought you were going to say that it's a top 5 state to fish in, and I was about to leave.
No, I wouldn't say that.
It's underrated.
I will not sit
it's
here and
definitely
be gaslit that Ohio
Well,
is
we're-
a great fishing
where you-
destination.
I mean, where you fish, you don't know if you're going to catch,
Oh my
you know,
God, a dead
20-inch
body
smallmouth,
or-
a dead body, a deer carcass, a
You got to
heroin
dodge
needle.
the needle. Yeah, you got to dodge the needle fish
gotta
on the bank. I mean, it's,
Hey,
Oh, what happened
it's-
to Brad Hicks?
What happened?
Oh
to
yeah,
Brad Hicks?
yeah.
Yeah.
Woo.
I'm telling you.
Pre-show?
A little
Yeah.
bass play.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
oh,
I'm
did
telling
go-
you,
yeah,
it's-
there's some places around here you don't
Dayton.
go. Yeah.
Dayton is a Candyland map of nightmares. Like,
Yeah, it is.
you know, how in Candyland, it's like you go down the sugary slide. Nope, you have to go
Nope.
through the field of needles. And you're wearing Crocs.
You're getting
So-
chased by some homeless guy from under the overpass telling you that the fish are all government spies. And it's like, what are we doing? What is going on here?
Fish ain't
You're
real,
dodging
bro.
dead bodies. Yeah.
Fish ain't real.
Ugh, it's awful. Do not come here and fish.
Please. There's too
At
many.
least not my spot.
You guys know. You guys came down here. It's
Dude,
not fun.
So what I was
Place
saying is
sucks.
like the Sticko. I bought the Bass Pro Shop Sticko because the green pumpkin's a little bit different. It's a little bit more of a translucent green pumpkin.
Yeah, it's lighter. Yeah.
And that makes a huge difference in like I live by the Big 5 in Columbus. I live by Hoover, I live by O'Shaughnessy, Griggs, Alum, and then there's Delaware. Alum is probably the best inland non-Great Lake smallmouth fishery in the state.
Oh, we got a freaking spot burner over
That
here.
is very
Whoa.
niche.
This has been paid for by the Delaware County State Parks Association. But dude, no, I've I've caught near 6s out of alum, and I've seen 7s come out of alum, like high 7s, like 7-9. Like I've seen big ones come out of alum, and the second I got, dude, if you came down to alum and you caught yourself a 20-inch smallmouth, how many people do you think would fly out here to go? I got to go where Hayes was at. I got to go there.
That's why I tag fake places in my pictures.
OHIV.
Yeah.
Yep.
Josh Jones and Milliken. Then the complete that's like, okay, no other lake exists other than OHIV apparently in Texas now.
Yep. Yeah, it used to be all about El Salto and Amistad.
Yeah.
And then 13-pounder gets caught on YouTube. Everybody and their mom's like, dude, I'm just as good as Ben Milliken.
Yeah.
What you don't know is Ben Milliken spent a week just graphing and not even hooking a damn fish.
Yeah.
And then he went out there and was like, we're going to find what we've been mapping. That's what I do at Hoover. I map. I like to map. I map before I fish. And what I would do with my buddy is we would take his $100,000 skeeter out before a tournament. And we used to do this at a lot of lakes. We'd go out at night. We wouldn't fish. We'd go to spots we looked at. And we'd be like, what do you think? And we'd idle around and we'd just map. We'd map and graph. We'd see what we saw. Okay, it looks like it goes down from 8 to 20 foot of water, but then there's a huge hump and a big flat or a rock pile, whatever it may be. And then the next day we go back out and then we pre-fish that and just see what's there.
Is this before Navionics existed or something?
This was with Navionics, but it was like one of those. So a lot of these lakes around here, they change because of the way the weather is. So like anytime the water freezes, you got brush piles getting pulled off the bank. You've got stuff going places. So Navionics isn't necessarily always accurate. It's very accurate with your contour.
Well, right. Which is what, when you were explaining, like, oh, there's a hump here. It's like, you can just see that from your couch, right? It's like,
right. yeah. But like when you get down there,
getting out there and seeing the nuances
of
everything.
You throw some Mega Live on that thing, and you're just like, oh, it's not just a cheating. Hump. It's cheating because I don't have.
I knew Andrew wanted to talk about live scope.
Yeah, I thought that's what we were supposed to be talking about today. What is this a forward-facing thing or what?
No.
Sound off in the comments if you think that forward-facing sonar should be banned.
I think what's overrated. I'll tell you this. I think what's overrated is those forward-facing sonar.
He said, "Here we go."
That's what's overrated. Hey, buddy, Armando, I'm sorry. You got 3 guys that like to talk on a podcast. What do you think?
Oh no, it's that one rabbit hole that is just.
Oh, I know. It's so overplayed.
It's like the MTB monthly tackle box, the MTB of social media right now. Everybody wants to talk about it. Everybody wants to jump in on it.
Oh my goodness!
So
ran out of stuff to talk about. Let's complain about electronics. Hey, you know what? I don't like.
You made a post out of it today. Just got a chuckle out of it.
That was good. That was good.
It was.
It was like 7 posts in a row of just. Do you think forward-facing sonar should be banned? What do you guys think about?
All right, Randy, relax.
Come on. Relax. Well, listen, I'm not going to fault Randy because Randy does it 365 days a year. Randy knows his game, and Randy didn't just hop on this week. Randy's been preaching.
Randy's been a hater.
5 years.
I like Randy. Randy's a man of conviction. I like him. I would love to talk to Randy because I'm telling you, you got to get him on the pod, dude.
Yeah.
No, I have made contact with said Randy before.
I bet Randy, is he?
I think it would be fun because I think Randy knows what he's doing, and I think you could actually have a pretty fun conversation with Randy if you sat down and had some premises of here's what we want to talk about and approach it the right way. I think there is a cool conversation to be had with him. I just don't know if I'm ready to do it yet.
Oh,
I'm very diplomatic of you.
I'm not. I don't have all my talking points ready.
Is there ever a guest that you're like, I don't care how popular, I don't care how much views I would get on this, I am not having this guest. You don't have to say names.
That's happened before. Yeah.
I've said
no.
Be.
Yeah, I've said no.
There's at least ones that come to mind.
The
for
CEO of the
me,
Jardine Corporation.
No, I definitely want to talk to that guy. You can.
So hey, man,
just get a new mansion somewhere, and it's like, oh yeah,
I would love
wearing Jardin shirts.
I would, I would love to hear these guys' thought processes. They were like, yeah, we saw this bait that was really popular, and we were like, you know what we could do? pay a bunch of people like pennies on the dollar to make it ourselves.
Well, so Armando, you know how this goes too. Like in the podcast side of things, I could go out and have Kevin Van Dam on tomorrow, and my numbers are not going to shoot up. My numbers are going to be the same. So honestly, whoever you're bringing on, as weird as this sounds, it's more of a benefit to them at this point than it is to me to have somebody on. And so it's, I don't know. There's certain people, I will only have people on if I think I can have a cool conversation with them and there's a point to it, not just because you're like name chasing. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is they have somebody on because of a name and then they don't have anything to talk about. And it's just the same 12 questions they've been asked a billion times. Like, so tell us about winning the classic in 74. And you're like, all right, I can go on YouTube and I can find you answer that question 100 times.
That's a very interesting point, Andrew. It's a very interesting point, and I think it's a neat bridge between what you do and what we do and what Armando does. Do what you're good at. Believe in what you're good at, and keep trying to do that better. Don't try to fast grab anything, because you're gonna end up losing. Believe in what you're good at, and it's gonna that's what is gonna get you. If anything is gonna get you somewhere, that's what it's gonna be. I think that was a very good point. I enjoyed that.
And I think going back to what you were saying, Andrew, is if you put up great content, whether it's a podcast, great conversations, great talking points, that's going to be sustainable, and that's going to be that growth that is going to be slowly but steady climbing. I remember not about a couple of months ago, Dan Perry, who also has his podcast on this network. This is called The Real Life. Everybody calls it Backskag and Beers. That's just because that's what I started with. And then now Daniel Perry has the Advanced Kayak Angler, which talks about tips and tricks within kayak fishing. And remember one episode, you know this, Andrew, a lot of times, guests cancel at the last minute for whatever reasons. So it's like, hey, cancel guests. We don't want to be short one episode. You want to come in, we'll figure out something to talk about. And we went down this rabbit hole where the kayak fishing has changed with the rules of national trails, kind of like allowing motors for fishing sonars, not allowing public, set public launches. Now it's not where you can launch anywhere you want it like it used to be. You can't port it. There was a whole bunch of rule changes that pissed off a lot of people in the kayak fishing community. Let's just resume in that. And that we were like, okay, let's talk about that. And it took a life of its own. When I did I was like, well, what are we going to do with what's going to be the theme of this? And I thought, no, is kayak fishing dead? And my point was, like, we're talking about whether kayak fishing as we know it was dead, in the sense that what we do now on national trails, kayak fishing, it's not kayak fishing. It's a small plastic boat. Nobody calls it that because it's not trendy to call it a small plastic boat, but it's definitely not a kayak. When you got motors, trolling motors, forward fish, it's no longer a kayak. It's a 14-foot plastic boat. I'm not hating on it, but that was my point. So I made that title, Is Kayak Fishing Dead? I can't believe how many listeners we got on that episode just because of that thumbnail. And boy, did I get hatred on it from people that I would literally ask him on Facebook, did you listen to the episode before you commenting on? You didn't listen to it? Listen to it. Then let me know if this was what they call the clickbait. Yeah. And a couple of them listened to it, messaged me back. It's like, you're right, it's not a clickbait. It's like, it wasn't my intention to be a clickbait. It is what we're talking about. Do we even kayak fish anymore when we fish tournaments? But going back to what you're saying, it's that I saw the power of a clickbait unintentionally. What people perceive as a clickbait skyrocketed an episode, but that's not sustainable. Right. Now, from that, a lot of people is like, oh, I just discovered this new podcast. I'm going to keep listening to the rest of the podcast. But you can only go so far with trying to be, what's the word that I'm looking for? We're trying to be clickbaitish, not just in the title, but what you say and how you act. Yeah. There comes a point where it's like people see through it, and now you get tired of this very, very quickly.
And it takes back to what we were talking about a second ago.
Content of your podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so you're talking about like a YouTube thumbnail that can have you could have someone big on, or you could do a thumbnail, clickbait or something, and that can shoot up. But you probably saw, like, on your podcast downloads, I bet that episode didn't shoot up as crazy as it did on YouTube, because it's harder to have a viral or whatever. Like that doesn't happen on podcast platforms, because on podcast platforms, people are searching for your show, seeking it out because they like your show. They're not seeing it because of whatever the title is that week. You know what I mean? So it's like
this was on the podcast. YouTube and Facebook, the video did the same. But on the MP3, it skyrocketed.
Oh, the MP3 did.
The MP3 skyrocketed just because of the thumbnail. Because I was promoting the show with the
and then
thumbnail.
they clicked on it and were listening to it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's very interesting. And it's very interesting for me because of the way I came into Dark Horse Tackle. I was probably Dark Horse Tackle's best customer, Josh.
Yes.
That took half a second to answer.
Yes.
So like I'm a consumer. I'm a consumer of podcasts.
But you're not just a consumer, dude. You believe in what you consume. You
do, but where I'm getting at is
okay.
If I see something that grabs my attention, you're clickbait. If I see that and it makes me click and you don't deliver, you're dead to me.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's the thing. Like,
go ahead.
It's like you were saying, like it's very similar to the influencer thing. When you have a product and your product is generic, just like everybody else's, at what point is it like, oh, like that's the difference between like, you know, these podcasts that we've been a part of. That's the difference between Andrew Hayes. That's the difference between a lot of these guys. Andrew Hayes isn't going, hey guys, just to let you know, you need to buy A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3. You get 35% off. Yada. No, there's a real interview there. But what he did prior to getting the ABC 1, 2, 3 sponsorship deals is he had real interviews. Like this, I would send him a box every month back in the day. And now we can't afford this guy. Like he's growing. Like I can't pay what these people are paying. And
Jason Biggs, Bobby Roast Beef. What's up, brother?
What's up, fellas?
Yo.
But, you know,
great podcast, by the way, Jigs and Biggs. Sorry.
Do I still want Andrew to succeed because he's not promoting me? Yeah. Duh. Like, the more we all succeed, the better it is. I want everybody that we have all come in contact with and we've, you know, met in the middle on a bridge just to succeed. Like, hey, handshake, walk away, or handshake, we go the same direction. Either way, I want that success. And
and like right now, what's happening, that this doesn't happen in the fishing industry where it's like someone was if I was with you know Shiano Reels last year and then we you know they're not with me in 2024, this doesn't happen. It's like
we're gonna see here.
No, but I like you guys and I wanted to work with you guys and promote you guys because you guys do good work. Like that doesn't change,
right?
Because you know other things in the business side of things change. Like that doesn't matter. You're still doing great work. You're putting out a good product, and that's what you believe in. Like I don't know. It's
conviction.
I've had to tell people no to partnership things that would make people throw up, but it's like because I'm not gonna sit here and peddle crap like it, and I have a blanket rule that I won't work with any rod, reel, line, or bait manufacturer, which eliminates like 98% of the fishing industry.
That's an interesting standpoint. I understand social media content creators that work with bait companies. I get it.
Yeah,
I look at it, and granted, I have the right to change my mind. First of all, I'm not as popular as Tackle Talk podcast. I'm not as popular as Alex Rod, Greg Blanchard, Fluke Master, John B, any of that. So it's not like they're knocking at my door. But I wouldn't want, I as much as I would like to avoid being, okay, I'm just going to promote this bait.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I think if I find a bait that I love and I want to share it with my listeners, with my followers, I can't do that. So it comes to a point where these people that come to put time to watch the live show, to listen to my podcast on their way to dropping the kids at school, on their way to go at the boat ramp. That's the reason why I'm here. If I'm signing a contract with a bait company, I'm limiting what I was offering them and why they got into this. I mean, I'm betraying their trust is what I think.
You know what I call it? So there's podcasts that have their it's very difficult in the fishing industry. The fishing industry is a lot more difficult than a lot of people make it out to be.
Yeah,
it's a very, very tight, but like it's different. You know, anybody can have their Black Rifle coffee or their, you know, Manscaped, you know, oh, you shave your man parts, ha ha ha. Here's a dumb joke. But the nice thing about it is a lot of these podcasts that Zach and I get on, I call them BS podcasts. And I don't mean that by any disrespect. What I mean is like you can
Sounds like you are.
Nope. Nope. It's like you're sitting at home BSing with the boys.
Yeah.
You're walking around, you're listening to it. It's background noise, but you're simultaneously engaged. And that is the sign of a good podcast. I started listening to Tackle Talk when I was a territory manager for a lumber company. And I would do my job, which was unloading and stocking and doing a bunch of work for these lumber departments at hardware stores. And I would just listen. And the interesting thing is that you realize in the midst of your working, you are listening. You're actually engaged with it. You're going, no, Andrew, you're an idiot. Yum dingers suck. And
no, they don't.
Bandito Bucks rock.
I got some pictures to show you after this.
I bet you do. I
Dingers.
bet you do. Yeah, I bet you're going to show me your dinger, buddy.
Yeah.
Frank Scalish just rolled over in his grave, by the way.
Uncle Frank.
Yeah, that's, you know, I mean, Bomber's part of that group, so yeah, I could imagine why. But no, I love this. It's one of those things, man. It's like when you find yourself blending in with it without trying to listen. That's the making of a good podcast. When you're like distracted and you're just like, what? Like, what? Like, hold on, let me rewind this shit. Like, oh, sorry. Like, let me rewind this. Like, we'll figure out where we were at. Like, that's when things like there's a lot of things I've listened to that are unlistenable, and like I won't be a part of it just because I feel like the only reason Zach and I would be a part of it is because we would be the entertainment. Like it's got to be 50-50. Andrew and you have done a fantastic job. I've not actually listened to this podcast yet. You've done a fantastic job of keeping it going. No, this is good.
No,
it's done a fantastic.
I listened to it.
Right?
Oh, really? That means a lot.
It's done. There's a good engagement, right? Like you've got, you know your questions, your structure. Andrew's got his structure. I was in a podcast and I noticed it going downhill when we had the regimen, but the person that was on the podcast with me was like, well, what do you have to talk about? And I'm like, dude, I've got plenty. Like it's yeah. It's October. It's October 10th, man. I got plenty of stuff to talk about. We can talk about patterns. We can talk about the most recent box that came out. We can talk about a lot of things. And he'd be like, well, I got nothing. And then he would just settle with talking about how if you don't make your bed, this is the reason why you're depressed every day, or like some weird alpha male BS.
Well, you wanted a podcast with Jordan.
We went to Joe Rogan.
I'm glad Andrew got that reference.
Where were you at?
Yeah, you know where I was.
No, I know.
You know where I was at.
It's just funny. It's just
you were there. You were there, and I would constantly troll and joke, and the partner would not notice the trolling and joking. Like I would just be like, "Oh, that's blah blah blah's America," and he'd be like, "You know what? It really is." And here's what I'm going to say about that. And I'm like, "Oh no,
backfired, didn't it?
No,
backfired, didn't it?"
But that's how I am. I like to be facetious. I like to, tongue in cheek kind of BS that kind of joke into people being like, "Oh man, that's kind of funny." Like he doesn't actually believe this, but like you don't know if he believes it, but like also we're kind of laughing about it. Kind of like the ending of the podcast you were on with us, Andrew, when I talked about certain how everything's like an inside job. I was
the saddest I've ever heard. You were like, yeah.
I was literally I remember this. Dude, I was joking. I was trolling so hard. Like I had like 6 beers and I was just like, yep, this is an inside job.
It was a what have I gotten myself into? Where am I at? The internet lives forever. What is this conversation I'm in?
But that's it's nice
You
to
see
be part
Andrew
of
going
podcasts
like this.
But Armando, you do a good job with this. Like, hats
appreciate
off
that.
to you, because I think sometimes I'm too structured for my own good, and I'm jealous of people that can have it seem more natural and be a little bit more natural and just a little bit more go with the flow and just have a more relaxed conversation with people where I pepper people with questions. Like, I've got my stuff laid out of how I want a conversation to go, at least a little bit, or like an outline or a rough idea of like where I want to start, where I want to be in the middle, where I want to end, and kind of have this all to go. And sometimes, like, my guilty pleasure is when I want to listen to shows, I want to listen to something that's the opposite of what I do, because I listen to my show too much while I'm editing and stuff anyway, and I'm sick of it by the time it comes out. And so, like, I want to listen to something that's completely different. That's why I love it, because there's different strokes for different folks. Where, like, you do a great job with that, Bailey and Andy do a great job with it. Like, there's a lot of people that go out there and everybody's got their own little niche that they're in. You talked, Josh, a little bit ago about like the beer drinking crowd. Like, that was why I started my show, because really what was out there at the time was like Ike Live, which was Ike sitting in the basement talking to his buddies and drinking beer, which was fine, but that wasn't what I was looking for.
You got in at a good time, man.
It was
you.
I was lucky. I just got lucky.
You did.
Yeah.
No, but like, it's not luck, man. It's more than luck. It's a little bit of luck. It's a little bit of luck. You took advantage. You took advantage of an untapped market where the only people doing it were already famous, well-renowned fishermen, and you're just a dude from Dayton who's like, hey, let's talk about it.
People can relate to you.
Exactly. It's I'm just a normal guy. Don't worry about me, but I do have some opinions on some things that I want to share with you. Let me know what you think. And I remember you growing your page. I remember, just like, dude, I think Andrew and I have followed each other on Instagram since before he even had 1,000 followers. Like,
probably, yeah.
And I remember just being like a shy dude who was like, you ain't getting my spots. Like, people DM me all the time. Like, I remember Andrew was like, we should fish sometime together. And I'm like, you ain't getting my spots.
Yeah,
like,
just get out of here. It's like,
no way.
I'm not trying to
scary,
take a spot.
Scary.
Trying to be friends. Nice to meet you.
Yep. And that's a difficult thing to do, as men who are, just Cro-Mags in general. We're just Cro-Magged on cavemen, and we're just like, what? You want to go fishing? You better be prepared to die. Like, it's like, that's how the boys are. And then every, one day we all meet each other in person, and we're
who do you hang out with, Josh?
Hey, man, it's been a long life. Yeah, this guy.
To be fair,
I've never told somebody, hey, you want to go fishing? You want to die?
The Columbus HOA pond guys
conversation
are very protective.
Dude, I'm telling you, these guys, listen, man, we got to talk.
Oh, wait till you see the t-shirt. Wait till you see the t-shirt we're coming out with for the Columbus Expo.
It's good.
But it's going to be good.
These Columbus guys, they're dude, it's the river fishing community that's worse. Like,
we are.
They're like, you want to know where I caught my 12.5-inch personal best white or 12.5-pound personal best wiper? No. And I'm like, no, I just wanted to go smallmouth fishing with you, dude. And they're like, well, you'll never know.
I've had people take pictures of my truck where it's parked and post it online.
Wow.
I had that happen last year. It's why I don't have like a
I remember that
sticker on the back of my truck or anything anymore.
Okay, Britney Spears, Jesus Christ.
Well, no, it was just because then they burned my spot. They told everybody where I was at. And I was like, I don't care if you come see me or take a picture of my truck or whatever, but they did it to show people where I was fishing. I was like,
oh.
It's funny because when I started fishing on kayak tournaments, I have my spot. I wasn't going to follow anybody, but lines out, I'm boom, shotgun, I'm getting to my spot. And I always notice like the real pros, like Guillermo Sales, Christine Fisher. I was just like, man, should I tell them we can take off? Like, they're still there loading, they're hanging out. And I realized afterwards, like, nope, they're like, you guys go where I already know where I'm going. I don't want anybody following me. So it's when you get to that, when you get to be that good of a hammer, recognize at least you're like, no, I'm launching 10 minutes later than everybody else just to make sure nobody follows my spot.
Yep.
Which is kind of crazy.
Wow. That's why when I'll post a picture and I'll tag like Piqua, Ohio in it, even though I'm 2 hours away from Piqua, Ohio. And then I will get people that in the comments will say, I know that spot. It's like I fish Piqua all the time. That's a great spot. Like they think they recognize it because it's like this. I don't know. It's like a syndrome of they're looking at. They're like, oh, I think I do probably know where that's at. It's like,
I've been
2 hours away from there.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Funny
funny thing,
yeah.
funny
know that
thing would be
spot.
they go to that spot and catch another
catch
big
pigs.
bass, and they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh
I was
my
like,
god,
oh god, what have I done,
Dude, I have people all the time. Like they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I recognize that spot. Are you in Fart Town, North Carolina?" And I'm like, "I'm literally in Ohio." And they're like, "Oh, I didn't know bass got that big in Ohio." And I'm like, "They do with me, buddy."
Humble
Okay.
brag. Whoa. Didn't know
I
bass
gotta-
got
I
that
gotta-
big in Ohio.
I gotta ask you guys, like, I gotta be honest with you. This topic is so unfamiliar to me.
what topic?"
Like, it is
Spot
super.
burning?
Yes, it's
Move to
super
Ohio.
unfamiliar to me. Well, I have always
Don't
just.
do it.
Are we talking
I've
about
always
tournaments or just fun fishing?
It
Just
doesn't.
fun
Whatever.
Okay.
Whatever.
He will
Um,
tell you. He will, and I will too. Usually, he will tell you though. He'll be like, "Oh yeah, I was in the back of this lake, and the blah blah blah. There's a railroad track, and you can see it." And
Yeah, like I've never like it's. I mean, like when I go out on my lake, which is like it's the closest lake to Pittsburgh. That's a good bass lake, and I have
so
to,
an hour away.
I have to like fight, like I have to fight with guys in bass boats and everything else to like fish and everything like that. But like,
Physically,
but like, I don't know. Like, I think there's more to. Yeah, a good spot definitely ups your chances. But if you don't know what you're doing, a good spot is just another spot.
Okay. Unless you're in, so like if you're in a lake situation, I'll kind of agree with you that a lake is sort of fair game and there's enough parity there. I'm fishing a river that you can cast across. And so that spot, that eddy that holds those 3 alpha smallmouth that are in there right now, a blind person could go over there and cast in that eddy and catch one of those fish because they are just full of piss and vinegar and they're in there. And if you know where they are and where they sit and how they're looking and what rock they're behind, all that kind of stuff, like you can catch that fish. And so we're in such a small ecosystem where all it takes is 2 people to go down there, keep 3 stringers of fish, and then that spot will not be the same for a year and a half.
That's crazy, dude.
That's
crazy.
That's what we're dealing with, which is definitely the tough part. Yeah, in a lake or whatever, like I don't care that much.
It's
I mean-
nuts. That's nuts to me because it literally must be like, all right, so like when you cross from Pennsylvania over to Ohio, if you cross in the wrong spot, you just get like super depressed immediately because
Yes.
it's Ohio.
Yes.
But like, I don't know. I guess maybe it's because bass fishing isn't that big in Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Other than the Susquehanna,
that might be the
I bet.
difference. Oh, that's Eastern Pennsylvania. I'm literally
that's different. It's different
Western Pennsylvania, Southwestern.
I want to go to the
Pennsylvania.
Suskies so bad.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
Oh, I've heard a lot. I've heard a
Oh my
lot.
God. It just looks
But-
like
I've heard a
heaven.
lot.
I've heard on national trails where people go like, oh, so and so they saw so and so pre-fishing on that area. Pre-fishing, we're not talking about the tournament. They'll go after that person left and burn the spot. Just like mad hook, set every fish that they can, sore lipping as much as they can to ruin that spot. Which is that's that to me is crossing the line. But
Yeah.
But anyways,
it's
happier subjects. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Stay away from that part because I know that's another rabbit hole. Somebody asked here, Eli Self, and I'm assuming this question is for you, Andrew. What is your dream interview right now?
Ooh.
What would you, I guess,
Ooh.
interview?
Ooh.
I want to know this one too.
I think this is going to be a duh one probably, but I think especially the time right now, I think it'd be Kevin. I
Yep.
think actually sitting down with Kevin, like I've got to talk to Kevin before. We've had like snippets of him on the show and stuff before from iCast and stuff, but to actually get to sit down and because I think Kevin Van Dam, you want to talk about overrated, underrated? I actually think Kevin Van Dam is underrated for what he did for the sport as a whole because he's our Michael Jordan.
I
He
agree.
He's not just the competitive side. He trailblazed the business side of things as well. Or when
Yep.
you walk down Bass Pro Shops, his face is on everything.
Everything.
He marketed himself so well that I think that's the side of things that everybody knows him for, but I don't think he gets enough credit for. Is he was really the first household marketable competitive fishing, like Bill and Jimmy and people were on lures and stuff before, but talking about that half of the country would probably recognize if they saw him on a package somewhere. Kevin Van Dam.
Andrew?
What?
I think you're getting there for me, but I just want to ruin it.
Go for it. Ruin it.
Kevin had products that Kevin designed, that Kevin used, that Kevin pre-fished with, that Kevin fished with, that Kevin believed in. You've got your Roland Martins and you've got your Scott Martins. And the apple doesn't fall far from the tree when you're throwing torpedo lures and you're bull spitting. You know, you're sitting there and you're like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever made because I'm Roland Martin. This is the greatest thing ever made because I'm Scott Martin. Kevin Van Dam was like, here's my 1.5 square bill. Here's how I fish it.
Here's best square bill on the planet.
Here's 14 consecutive fish catches in the same spot. No electronics. None of that BS. I'm power fishing because I'm Kevin freaking Van Dam. And you're right. He was the Michael Jordan of the sport. He is the Michael Jordan of the sport.
Yeah, he was. So you're talking about like Bill Dance, Roland Martin, all those guys. They were personalities.
Salesmen.
Right. Kevin Van Dam, I'm sure, has an amazing personality. I'm sure he gets it done because look at what he's done in the business side of fishing.
Fisherman.
But he got it done, and the reason why everybody looks up to him is because he's that freaking good. Like you said, the Michael Jordan of fishing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that'd be probably my answer. I think there's so many cool ways you can go with that conversation, and especially now that he's, I guess, technically put a bow on his career, even though I don't know if I technically buy that yet. I think we've seen that time and time again from people where they call it quits. They just have too big of a competitive drive and they're going to jump back in at some point. And I think there's also the caveat, I'm talking out of my tail here, but like that he was in Major League Fishing. Major League Fishing hasn't quite panned out how people thought. Maybe that opens the road to go back to bass. I don't know. But I think there's probably a lane where Kevin could still competitively fish at some point. But right now, I think it'd be a cool conversation to have.
I think he does. Obviously, he doesn't. It's not that he stopped loving fishing. I think I see it somewhat as, I think Tom Brady talked about this when after he retired and then kind of came back. It's not the fishing that you get tired of, because obviously, the shelf life of a fisherman is a lot more competitive.
Forever,
angler. Yeah, you can do this, till
you die,
90 as long as you can walk, and cast. But
Rick
I
Clun.
think. Yeah, exactly. Rick Clun. I didn't want to mention it because I didn't want to, but yes, that definitely Rick Clun. I think it's like the nuance of, okay, I have to get up, I have to do this, I have to do that. Whereas like, I just want to, I already met my bed. I just want to go now and spend time with the kids, the grandkids, the wife, the family. And every now and then I'll hit up, a main event and pre-fish for it. But I think for the graders, for the greatness, like the Michael Jordans, Tom Brady's, Wayne Gretzky's, you can go on and on. Yep. Those guys, if they're not going 110%, they're not doing it. And it comes to a point where you're like, I just kind of want to enjoy life now. I want to relax. I don't want to go through the whole traveling. If I'm not giving 110%, I'm not doing it. And maybe a 70% Kevin Van Dam angler is still running the field, but it's not. He doesn't feel like it. And I mean, like you said, I'm talking out of my butt tail here.
Yeah,
because that may not be at all. But I think that's where that is. You'll see him every now and then in a main event. You're just not going to see him going full throttle like he used to be. The great ones just know this. Like, if I can't go 110, then I'm not doing it.
Yeah. And I think some of them realize too, like when you hang it up for a year and they're like, I just think some of these people have it wired in their brain, the Tom Brady's, the Michael Jordans, Brett Favre was an example of this. Like they think that they're going to be able to shut off the competitive side and just go enjoy life. And then they do it for like 6 months and they're like, I can't shut it off. Like it's in my DNA to compete. And I thought that I was going to be able to like ride off into the sunset and enjoy this and just go fun fishing. And I can't do it. Like I need the competition. So there's still a little bit of that like devil on the shoulder hope that thinks that it'll be like a year and Kevin will be like, you know what? I can't sit at home. Like I'm back in.
He's the big dog. All right. He is the big dog. He's the alpha freaking dude of the fishing industry. He is the one guy that got Ike and Elliott to shut up for 2 seconds. He asked Iaconelli, "What are you doing?" That's it. Iaconelli pulls up to a spot. He goes, "What are you doing?" And I goes, "Do you want me to leave? I'll leave if you want me to leave." Blah, 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 blah. And Kevin goes,
if you're listening to this, go watch it on YouTube because it's one of the best.
It literally,
it is.
Danced up. What are you doing? And Iaconelli backed down, put his tail between his legs. He goes, "I don't know what that guy's problem is." I do.
I like both of them. I like all these guys. But in that situation, Ike was
it was good.
The smaller dog that was yapping at the bigger dog, and the bigger dog stood up and gave one growl, and the smaller dog was like, oh, that was probably not smart.
It was cartoonish. It was cartoonish. He literally went, and the little dog
it was
went.
just one of the great moments of bass fishing.
Oh,
out there on
dude,
the water.
it was so good.
Yeah.
It was so good. Like
I would believe that Kevin wasn't coming back if he would have beat my boy from Pennsylvania.
Jesus.
At that last tournament.
See, I would maybe argue that like Kevin is the guy that the one thing you might have going for you with Kevin staying out of the sport is that it's been quite a bit since he's had like consistent success, and so if he got a taste of that again and he got a win and he was out there, I think there's a little bit of that too, where you'd be like, "Oh, this is what that felt like."
Somebody help me out.
You give me another hit of it, and it's like, okay, I'm back.
I can't remember that dude's name now. The dude from Pennsylvania. Matt
Becker?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm an actual fisherman, so like I remember stuff like that.
Yeah, whatever.
Wow.
I would actually like to hear an interview with Matt Becker because that's very intriguing to me. Because this part of Pennsylvania, bass fishing isn't really nobody cares.
So here's the other weird part about like picking interviews and stuff is, in Armando, you probably know this too. It's like you have to think of the baggage that comes with these guys when you book them for an interview, where like Matt's a great example right now. Like Matt and probably 20 other guys have this like little cloud over their head because of the Cayuga event, and you have to like keep up with that. And even though I have nothing bad to say about Matt or Spencer Sheffield or any of these guys that were involved in like some of that stuff, you know that if you have them on, and even if you have a normal conversation that's nothing to do with that, you're just going to get inundated with, "This guy's a cheater, how dare you." It's like you have to be, you have to know so much about these people before you invite them on, because you have to know what backlash you could be getting from whatever they said or did 2 weeks ago.
That's why I think it's the tightrope to walk on, but as a host, you have to you hope that the listeners and your followers understand you're just a vessel here. You're just the host, and you have to let the other side be told if you're going to tackle a subject like that. Like, I have to listen to you, but at the same time, where is going to be there needs to be. I've had this recently at the end of last year when I recorded a podcast in Paddle and Fin, and I talked about something specific that happened, and I felt like people were not being truthful about what happened. And I welcome that person to come to the podcast, but it was like, it's not to peddle your narrative. You can say your narrative. I invite you to say your narrative, but I'm going to challenge you.
It's good for conversation.
Some of the things.
Yeah.
And if you're not good with it, don't come to the show.
If you can't,
because it's not going to be good for either one of us.
Right.
I'm going to look like an ass because I'm putting you on the spot, or you're going to look bad because I'm calling you out.
But
so there needs to be that understanding. You can come here, but I need to. And even sometimes I've had guests where it's like, okay, in the pre-recording, I agree with everything you say, but for the sake of this, I need to bring some subjects that have been laid out, and you need to answer them. Dude. And if I don't like your answer, even though I know you're telling the truth, I need to push this because I need you to. There needs to be clarity. I never want to be like, Armando's just a vessel for this guy to peddle his opinion, and he's gonna come in unchecked and say whatever he can. And I've listened to those podcasts, referring to the one that I did last year, where I listened to us like, you're not challenging him on what he or she is saying. Right. You're just going along with it, even though it's not factually or not entirely true. And I can't do that. But that conversation needs to happen.
That's why I'm glad there are people like you out there that will have those conversations with people, because that's why I just want to like recede back into my show and be like, okay, but let's talk about picking apart offshore rock with football jigs. Like, let's talk about fishing. Like, I don't want to talk about your drama. And like, sometimes they start to like inject it. And it's like, okay, but back to fishing and techniques because I don't want to be this like gossip guy. Like I want to stay out of that kind of stuff. And yeah,
But
it's so
but
tough
Andrew,
because
like you
all
did
the
it.
way it's in fishing all over the place.
You did it though. Like I texted you preemptively. I was like, like there's gonna be good banter. Like
For
we're
what?
gonna
Which
talk about Cincos. We're gonna talk about.
Oh yeah.
Like we're gonna talk. I knew the Nessie was
Yeah.
gonna get brought up. Like
Yeah.
Like, do I
This bait?
hate you?
This
Yeah,
one?
that one.
No.
Do I hate
one
you?
first?
No, I'm not a child. I
Yeah,
I
don't care.
want to talk about it. I want to hear your opinion, and I'm not gonna agree with you on it. Like
Yeah.
I don't. But at the end of the day, like I'm not dying on this hill, bro.
Me
I'm
either.
not-
I caught a pig on this and it cost me $12, so I don't care. Like
Nice.
it doesn't matter.
Did you
Yeah,
post a
exactly.
picture with it?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I knew you did. I'm gonna go look at it. I'm gonna go dislike it.
And
I'm
I
gonna go
think
put a
also
thumbs down.
there has to be an understanding, and I try to do my best when I talk about a subject that it's going to be polarizing. So listen, I respect your point of view,
Yep.
but this is why I see it. This is how I see it. And this is why I see it. And a lot of times I remember doing that episode thinking, I'm not attacking the person. And let me be very, very clear. I love and respect this person. However, these were the actions, and this is how I feel about it.
Wait
and
a minute.
that has to be, and you kind of trust that your loyal listeners understand that, and that's why they tune in.
Armando,
Now, if
are
you're going
you,
out there insulting and bantering, that's a whole nother podcast.
Armando, are you trying to tell me that
No,
people
no.
can have different opinions and talk
Hey,
to one another?
Yes.
hey.
And
Nuance?
still be good with each other? Are you trying to
It-
tell me
it's
like
crazy.
we don't have to
Oh,
separate
I'm a-
into different clans?
Dude, yeah,
I'm a
this is what I'm telling you.
trailblazer.
I like having a conversation with someone that has a different opinion with me more than
dude.
someone that has the same.
Yeah.
opinion.
I will
Otherwise,
literally
what are we
Way
talking
more
about?
fun.
I will
Yeah.
fabricate things just to be
Yeah, I'll play
like,
devil's advocate just so we can have a fun conversation.
yeah,
about it.
dude.
Yeah.
Zach
But
told me.
I
He
don't
told me to
understand
get
why people get all
nuance.
upset about it.
He told me to get nuance tattooed across my neck, and I'm honestly thinking about it because I
You should
I
do it
love-
in
Because
like,
if he
in,
said
like,
it one more
Japanese or
time-
something, like so that no one knows what it actually says. It just
Exactly.
looks like
but
like
it
a-
wouldn't be nuance. It would actually be like foot long hot dog in Japanese. but like
you could tell
that's-
people it meant nuance. Yeah.
that's the thing. That was the problem. That was the problem with the old partners, that everything had to be agreed upon. And I'm like, dude, like we're not always gonna agree, and like not agree. Like there's things Zach and I don't agree with on a daily basis, and we're like, well, let's hey, let's resolve the disagreement here, like adults. It doesn't have to be like, Armando, you stink. Boo. Hey, never listen to this podcast. Don't listen to a word Armando says, because he told me that throwing 4-ounce weighted treble hooks to catch 20-pound bass is not real fishing. And Mike Long would hate that. But,
It's not.
right. It's not. But like,
Only
Yeah,
if they're on
wait
bed.
a minute.
Only if they're on beds.
Only if
now
they're-
we-
yeah,
now
hey,
we go
hey.
to the Mike Long reps.
if they're on beds,
2
all
hours and
bets are off.
17
Mike
minutes.
Long
Let's
just
go.
taking stray shots every other day.
Oh, dude, Mike
punching
Long.
bag, dude.
There isn't a day that goes by
Dude,
that I think about Mike Long.
Respect to the guy that showed up in like the ghillie suit and got the footage of him do like talk about a guy and the who- I think
Dedicated.
it was Panger and Mark Jeffries that did like a whole episode with him
Unsung
where
heroes.
where they were talking about the guy that caught Mike Long, and he was like going on his lunch break in a ghillie suit and camping out in the bushes and taking Zapruder film video of him snagging fish out of his little John boat. It's like, what a guy. Just a guy that's like gone from his
America's
banking.
hero.
He's like, oh, I'm gonna take my lunch break from my accounting job and I'm gonna put on a ghillie suit and go film this guy that's snagging fish. I'll be back in an hour.
He's in the corporate workout room / company restroom, and the guys are like,
Awesome.
"What in the
Yeah.
hell are you doing?" He's like,
Just the
"Listen,
hero we
man,
needed.
I'm
Random guy that caught
I'm
Mike
on
Long.
to something right now, dude.
Listen, I'm
You're not
working a
gonna
beat right
believe
now. Yeah, I'm
You're
working
not
a
gonna
beat right
believe
now.
it.
There's this guy that's using treble hooks to catch fish, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. I work for Silicon Valley, bro. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so listen, there's this guy. He's like world renowned, catches a bunch of 20-pounders, and like I know he's full of it. I know. I just
why
know.
is John gone at lunch all day and he goes, well, he says there's a guy that's catching fish not in the mouth. I don't know.
Yeah,
he's doing
something.
a thing. He's like,
it's a passion
he's
project
harmless.
for him.
He's harmless.
Yeah, don't worry about him. He will just film you cheating on your wife. That guy.
What was the guy that used to have the TV show that got caught having fish tied up underwater?
Roland Martin?
No.
I'm just kidding.
Babe Winkleman?
Get sued.
Babe Winkleman?
Huh?
Babe Winkleman was tying fish?
Dude, you need to look back.
Can we get a fact check on this?
Can we? Yeah, this is buddy. This is like OG fishing influencer type.
Yeah,
we can.
You need to.
You
need to sit down, bud.
Andrew's on top of it. Now.
Get Babe on the podcast right now.
I'm pretty sure Babe Winkleman had some issues like that in the past.
Babe Winkleman?
Do you remember Babe Winkleman, Armando?
No, I have no idea who you're talking
No,
about.
he was like a northern.
Jesus,
guy.
how old am I?
Yeah. I okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't know how
He's a Canadian. I don't know if he's Canadian.
Oh, that's why, because this is Canada. Nobody cares. No, I'm kidding.
Right.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
if there's any Canadians on this, I'm kidding.
Here we
kidding.
go. Another episode of
kidding.
Smallmouth Bass, the thing every bass angler hates.
So I'm finding like there's a couple like weird message board type things that are like Babe Winkleman.
Well, yeah, the last time he
Babe
was
Winkleman
on TV
busted.
was 2002.
But all I can really find for him is that he was charged with fishing without a license once.
This was
you are dragging Babe's Winkleman's good name through the mud.
No, listen.
On my
listen.
podcast.
So,
now I'm
when I started fishing, the only
You're
way
never
that
gonna
I got-
get him. You're never gonna get him, Armando. You're never
the
gonna
only
get
way
him.
that I got my information was from like the mailbox. That's the only way I got my fishing information, like when I started fishing. And I swear to God, dude, like I remember that because I bought one of his like VHS tapes. And I remember watching it and then I remember hearing about this later on. And I'm not like, I don't know exactly what it was, but it was something. It was something.
Andrew,
Okay,
before we go
I'm
on, a
finding-
VHS tape used to be, okay, it's like, it used to be a plastic thing.
I'm not that young. I had VHS tapes.
I don't know how to explain. Josh, could you know how to explain what a VHS tape is? I don't know.
A VHS
I
tape.
don't know.
It's,
Google
okay,
it.
so
Google it.
It's a fat cassette tape. Wait, do you know
Yeah.
what a
Take
cassette
a-
tape is?
You do know? Yeah, you're not gonna know what a cassette tape
Is
is.
it
Back-
like AirPlay?
back in the day, yeah.
What is
yeah,
this?
back in the day,
Yeah, you airdrop it.
we had a bunch of cords. And we had multitudes of things that we had to attach to a TV just to do one thing.
Yellow ones, red ones.
And the white one,
It was the size of a
What was
microwave.
the white one for?
What?
Huh.
There was a
Yeah, I
company
mean-
called Blockbuster, so you would
Yeah.
get there, rent them, watch a movie, and then you had to
Blockbuster.
rewind it.
That was
Dude,
the
I
game with
rented-
the two Italian. Blockbuster was the game with the two Italian brothers that were trying to find the princess, right? Wasn't that?
Dude,
That was-
I
like how he's
rented.
going along with this.
I have rented fishing videos from Blockbuster.
That's not the only thing you do. But anyways.
Nice.
Oh no.
Oh,
Hey guys, make sure to get it 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 58 seconds to hear the roast of the night from Armando.
got him.
I try to be a good host and not roast, but Andrew, I mean, he kicked the doors open.
Yeah,
real
sorry.
early.
He got me with the micro magic. He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, that I'm curious to see how many likes
Micro
I get
magic
once
Mike.
I release that reel.
Oh, I hope.
That's
Oh my
no-
God, if it blows it up, I hope. Like my favorite thing about like
And
being in Dark Horse
10%
Tackle,
discount on Dark Horse Tackle, right?
right?
I mean, you are
Dude,
69 inches tall, aren't you, buddy?
Exactly. Exactly. I am 5'9", and I
This
think
should
it's
have
funny.
ended like 15 minutes ago.
Ah.
More.
Diminishing
So-
returns at this point.
This is what happens.
I like
Imagine
I
if we
like-
would have had Paul Roberts here all the time.
dude.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
my
Oh,
God,
God.
Zach would have been blacked out on his freaking driveway right now. It would have looked like police officer chest cam footage. Like he'd have just been like,
Oh, come on, man.
By the way, I noticed one person dropped off after I said nobody cares about Canada. I was joking. If anybody knows that person,
Oh, that
That's
was Nick Deshane.
That's Nick Deshane. You've done.
I was joking. As soon as I said
we'll fix
somebody,
that.
No,
We'll
he's
fix
here,
that.
He's here. He's here. That's him, right?
Okay,
He's
there
back.
He is. Still
He's
here.
back.
You know
I was
he's
joking.
actually
back.
he's a politician in Canada, so he might, he's got some power.
Well, and to be fair, he probably didn't hear it anyway, because if he's listening in Canada, it was probably censored, so he didn't.
100%. 100%. They just
That was him. That was Andrew. Stop listening
know,
to
just
Tackle
kidding.
Talk. Not mine.
I'm kidding.
stop listening.
I love
that's gonna be-
Canada. Canada's the
Dude.
best.
Listen, that
No
would
hockey.
be some awesome merch, dude. Oh my god, what if we came out with like a Dark Horse Tackle Talk collaboration? Stop listening to Tackle Talk. Like,
I don't know if I
big
can co-sign that one. I like people listening to Tackle Talk.
but it would get people to listen. They'd be like, "Well, why
It's
is
like,
Tackle
this,
Talk
like,
so
sucks.
bad?"
Yeah,
What
you're
you should
the
do is
Jordan Lee of
offer like a
Tackle.
10%
Yeah.
if they go to Tackle Talk. Give them a 5-star, but an insult on the comments.
yeah. roast me with a 5-star. Yeah.
Yeah, give you the
Roast you
5-star,
with a 5-star.
but then put a horrible comment.
Roasting with a
Podcast
5-star is
And
not a bad
take a
idea.
screenshot and send it to you for
Podcast
10%
ratings, man. You want to hear some funny stuff? Go look at people's ratings on podcasts. Like, it will never cease to amaze me that, like, Armando, you put hours and hours and hours into the show. I put hours into my show, and then some dude on a couch will just leave like 1 star and be like, "This show's gone downhill." It's like,
Yeah.
it's a free show. Just don't listen to it. Like,
Right.
Why?
It's a podcast, bro.
yeah, I'm not holding you at gunpoint, making you listen to the show. Just don't listen to it. Why are you like trashing me?
Hey,
super-
actually,
That's
listen
super
here.
interesting, though. I gotta tell you, like, again, coming from where I am coming from as a consumer, which I'm still in the transition from consumer to business owner. Like, listen, man, Tackle Talk comes on Tuesday, and I've got like a slot of my time allotted for that. And if I get on and I hear it, and you have done something that I'm like, oh, what the
Yeah.
Like it and I have to like check myself to be like, okay, calm down.
He recorded this episode at 3 a.m. and spent 5 hours editing it after he worked 16 hours that day.
But seriously, like it's
Yeah.
so interesting, and it's one of my favorite parts about actually becoming a co-owner of Dark Horse Tackle is to be coming from one side to the other and getting to like actually witness both halves of it.
Yep.
Like,
yeah,
people
It's the
actually
best.
really put a lot of heart and faith and love into what they consume.
Yeah.
And if you have
Hey,
a
man.
bad day and you let them down one day, and they're the kind of person that's not afraid to say what they're thinking.
Well, that
Nobody's
sucks
afraid
for
to
us
say-
too, because I put in,
Okay,
and
back.
Armando, you put in hours and hours into that episode, and then have someone be like, "This is trash.
3
How
hours,
dare you?"
what?
It's like, yeah, I was like, okay. It's like, yeah, I guess those 12 hours I just like
I
obsessed over
think
this thing were not
at
worth
the
it.
end of the day, I want my listeners to enjoy it, but I also want to enjoy it. I don't want to do an episode like it kind of sounds counterintuitive because this is for my listeners.
Yeah.
Honestly, I try to, but I'm also not going to do an episode that I don't like.
Yeah.
So
It's the
I want to
same thing.
enjoy it.
It's the same thing that if Josh and I were to start, if we were to start worrying about every single review and comment that we got and tried to shift what we do every single time that we got a crappy comment, it's the same thing. Like, you're going to lose. You have to stick to what you know. You have to stick to what you're good at.
Yeah.
And you have to keep going with it because, like Andrew, you said, you're not going to make everybody happy.
Well, yeah, and not every
It's never
it's
going to
be a
happen.
banger. Not every episode is
No.
going to be a banger. Like, you're going to have ones that people like more than others, which is fine.
No.
But it's just,
Absolutely.
yeah. You feel a little bad though when you're like, these people have been looking forward to it for a week, and then
You
they
do.
shoot a message and like, I didn't like this one. But like, okay, well, there's always next
do.
week, I guess. Sorry,
Dude, our folks have been waiting for it for a freaking month.
yeah.
right, we're kind of winding down. I got Josh. I know it's kind of a way that Josh gets in here, but for those, I know there's Eli Self, NDES 13, Jigs and Bigs, Scarlett. Some of you have been here.
Nick
Some of
DeShane's
you
from Canada that
Nick
you
DeShane.
insulted.
Yes. So some of you have been here for the whole 2.5 hours, and I want to say
Yes.
so
yeah.
throw a comment out there. I'll give you a shout out. If you stay through this 2.5 hours of us talking nonsense, I salute you. I appreciate you. I hope you come back. I can tell you right now, next week's episode is probably not going to be as good as this one. I don't know what my guess is. I'm not saying
That's the dark horse tackle effect, Armando.
but yeah, they're all not going to be this enjoyable. But I appreciate it.
Armando, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. Anybody that has stuck around this freaking long, what is it?
Eli Self,
Bass, Kayaks, and Brews. So that's BKB. So BKB.
Yeah, beers, idiot.
Beers, not brews.
Yeah,
people in Pennsylvania don't know how to spell.
No, not at all. Listen, BKBDHT50. I'm going to create it as soon as we end this podcast. You can have 50% off of one of our BYOB boxes, brand new. Have at it.
Done deal.
Hold up, I gotta put this here. What banner? What's the code again?
B.
Hold up, I'm slow, especially at this time.
BKB.
Okay, BK. Yeah, perfect. BKB, Basket and Beers.
BKB DHT 50.
DHT 5. If I can just spell. Here we go. Golly, why did I put
people from Texas can't spell?
No, they can't. They're from Texas. Golly, what's going on here?
Hey, Paul from Bass Brews can spell.
I doubt it. DHT.
You said I doubt it.
DHT, right? T at the end, 50.
Correct.
All right, I'm at it right here. Sorry about that. And as you well know, I cannot spell because if you remember, I misspelled your last name.
Yep.
I think it was an improvement. That's it.
That's a code. So for those that are still hanging out, use that code. BK.
They should have used code CHITWOW.
Yeah, that would
have been wow. God, dude.
Oh, God.
I saw that story post and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, come on, man. I was gonna reshare it, like I was gonna screenshot it and share it, and I'm like, dude, does anybody just have the headliner for this? Like, I
fixed it though. I fixed it on.
You did.
I apologize about that.
It looked. Oh, you're good, dude. It happens, man. We've all made an Instagram post, dude, where we don't.
Chitwow sounds awesome.
Chitwow does
sound saying.
Chitwow.
That's
like
could be your stage name.
It sounds like something you're selling at 3 a.m. in an infomercial. It's like
that's what the ladies say.
Sham wow, yeah. Chitwow, buy one get one free.
Micro
shipping and handling.
That's right. It's an improvement over Micro Magic.
That is true. We went from Micro Magic to Chitwow.
That's the wow.
What a glow up. What a glow up.
Hey, don't worry about that part, Armando. That's for
all right.
Non-fishing content.
So Li Self, Nick DeShay, Jigs and Bigs. By the way, I need to bring Jigs and Bigs on this podcast. I've been meaning to reach it out.
Dude, they're the best.
Thank you for hanging out through all.
I want Bobby's voice.
Yes.
Yeah, you and me both.
Howdy, welcome back and listen to Jigs. Like I sound like
dude. He's the Howard Stern of bass fishing.
He sounds awesome.
Yes, I agree. All right, so I'll let you. I know, Andrew, you already plugged in when we were going to end it an hour ago, but so guys, where can people follow Tackle Talk, Dark Horse Tackle? What's coming down the pipeline for Dark Horse Tackle, and what products can people get on your website other than the monthly box?
Armando, I'm so glad you asked.
Take it, Zach.
So first of all, we have a whole literal SHIT ton, which is an actual unit of measurement of stuff coming up. We are doing the 2024 Columbus National Fishing Expo. It's going to be a banger. Jigs and Bigs is going to be sharing the booth with us. They are going to be doing a live ticketed recording of their show after Saturday of the podcast. It's going to be a party at a nearby venue. It's going to be freaking amazing. We are sponsors of 2024 Kayak Adventures Series Trail. I'm trying. Drew Gregory, Kayak Trail, going to be awesome.
Kayak Fishing Adventures, yeah.
Yeah, Kayak Fishing Adventures. Thank you. We also, if you don't know, we have a brand new website. Looks great. We're going to just be improving it all the time. darkhorsetackle.com. We have a new build your own box feature where our customers or anybody can go on and literally build your own box. You can dive into our inventory and literally pick the colors and the baits that you want out of what we have previously put in our subscription boxes. It gives you a chance to maybe replace what you've lost, or maybe you didn't, maybe you wanted a different color or whatever, and you can do that. And if you want a discount code, please, for God love, just get a hold of us. We'll give you one.
I know. Just have a conversation with us, dude. We'll end up giving you something at a discount. We just want you to get on the program, man.
But it's super simple. We are Dark Horse Tackle. We are Dark Horse Tackle on TikTok. We are Dark Horse Tackle on Instagram. We are Dark Horse Tackle on Facebook. And our website is darkhorsetackle.com.
Facebook
and
is
just about any of those, you can find my phone number and Josh's phone number.
Yep.
Call me. You got a question? Get a hold of me. I'm
ladies.
Micro jig magic.
Micro magic right here, baby. From micro magic to chit wow. It's right there on the business card.
Incredible.
It just keeps getting better.
We need royalties on this, right? For Andrew, you for my
the shirts
Magic,
that you
and
make
me for wow.
Yeah, the shirts you make, we're gonna need 5%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Both of them. All right. So with this, at the risk of not getting canceled, let's end this right here. Thank you guys
Fair enough.
everyone. And again, everyone that stayed with us. If you're watching, if you're listening on MP3 format, this show goes live on our MP3 formats every Monday morning. Also, check out the Advanced Kayak Angler every Wednesday morning on our MP3 format. If you're watching, listening on the Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us your 5-star reviews. We do appreciate it. If you're going to be on the water, wear your PFDs. And if you're going to be having a beer, make sure you drink responsibly. Have a great night, everyone. Peace.